The agenda is salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mayor Angeloni.
Here.
Deputy Mayor McMillan.
Present.
Councilor Abelson.
Here.
Councilor Diamond.
Here.
Councilor Miller.
Here.
Councilor Palladino.
Here.
Councilor Felicia.
Here.
And Councilor Zampano.
Here.
Okay. Next item is minutes of approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, January 23rd, 2024, special WPCA and Town Council meeting.
Motion.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Before we get into the agenda, there are just two things we need to clarify. We have to amend the agenda. There was a little mix-up in what got posted on the, that was sent to us and what was posted with the town clerk. So the correct items are, we need to add item 13P, which is discussion on the town seal. And we need to change item 13B to remove the Atwater property and put in formation of the town center committee. So do I hear a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, we have the correct agenda in front of us, yes. Okay, so now we will move on. Water Pollution Control Authority, number 3, correspondence citizen statements regarding WPCA. Hearing none. Unfinished business, none. New business, request to connect to sanitary sewers for 832 East Main Street, Brantford, Boston Post Road, map 3C, lot 17.
Good evening. The location before you tonight is actually primarily, it's got a Brantford address on it, which can be a little confusing to start, but it's primarily located in the town of North Brantford. Again, the proposal is connect the subject parcel to the Brantford portion of the sanitary sewers along Boston Post Road, Route 1 in Brantford. There is an existing single-family dwelling on the subject parcel. Again, the dwelling itself is entirely in the town of North Brantford. The existing residence is currently experiencing septic failure. The septic system is located on that private property, and it's a private septic system. Again, the majority of the subject parcel is about 3.94 acres, is located in the town of North Brantford. There is a portion of the property that is the access strip from the town line to Boston Post Road. It's about 0.05 acres. It's a very small access strip that's located in the town of Brantford, and that's what puts this on as being a Brantford address. The current town of North Brantford regulations require sanitary sewers connect via special connection, be paid $12,300, and that's per non-age restricted residential unit based on one unit being recovered for each dwelling unit. The sewer use fees would be anticipated, and again, this is going to be based on how Brantford decides on the connection itself, but it would be anticipated that the property would be billed annually for sewer use by the town of North Brantford, which we typically do for every property in the town of North Brantford. Then for billing purposes between North Brantford and Brantford, we'd have an estimated flow which would be reported to the town of Brantford. So this is typical with other properties that we have where they're not directly connected to the metering system that goes to North Haven. We have those properties where we give an estimated flow to North Haven. They bill us accordingly, and it's also a similar situation that we have with East Haven where there's, again, some of those properties don't make it to the metering system that we have. So we do an estimated system on the flows to that Greater New Haven WPC over in the East Haven section. So again, the draft motion before you tonight is for a request for a referral to the town of Branford. We're not looking for you to act on this for an approval of the actual special connection fee or the sewer use fee.
Okay.
Did I confuse it too much?
No.
Sorry.
Okay, so, do you have a motion?
That the North Branford Water Pollution Control Authority, WPCA, refers the request to connect number 832 East Main Street, Branford, AKA Boston Post Road, map 3C, lot 17, into the existing sanitary sewer main within Route 1 in Branford to the Branford Water Pollution Authority for review of possible action and request a report back to the North Branford WPCA regarding the Branford WPCA's findings and possible actions.
Second that motion.
Discussion?
So, question. Just looking up the address. So the right-of-way is off of Route 1?
Yes,
So it's in between Bill Miller's and that
correct,
the
right.
little- the access road?
Yes.
And it goes behind it?
It goes behind it's between Bill Miller's and behind that, I'm not sure what that
would
commercial
be
building
like
is.
the antique shop?
Okay, yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
the
that's-
property?
That's the house, so the house is behind, you're right, it's an antique shop there.
Yeah.
The house is behind that commercial property.
It is not the commercial property?
No, it's not the commercial property. It's definitely an existing residential, single-family dwelling located in the town of North Branford.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right, you can't see it because you see the right-of-way, but that's all
Right,
it is. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes 8-0. Okay, the next item is abatement of second half sewer use for 28 Branford Road.
Good evening. The 28 Brantford Road property is the property across from Rose Orchards where there was previously a house that was demolished and now there's a medical center going up. As it was a house, there was billed sewer use at a rate of $500 per year. $250 was due in October, second $250 is due in April. Well, as we obviously see, the structure was demolished. So obviously if there's no house there, you can't put sewage into the system. So the second half payment, we're looking to abate. Consultation with the town attorney, it makes the most sense. Again, it was assessed as a residential property before at a $500 sewer use fee. And because the house was demolished, obviously there cannot be sewer use second half of the year. So we're looking to abate that second half of the payment.
Okay. There's a suggested motion in our packet.
Be it hereby resolved that the mayor and the town council vote to abate the second half sewer use payment due April 1, 2024 for list number 2535 U 2024 in the amount of $250 based on the recommendation of the town attorney in concurrence with the finance committee.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay. On to citizen statements and petitions regarding WPCA. None? Okay. Moving on to the regular town council meeting. Reports of committees, boards, and commissions. First item is economic development.
Economic Development met February 5th for a regular meeting. Dale Krupp from Rex presented a slideshow regarding the types of services they can offer to the town. He asked the commission to pick a specific area to focus on. They had a special meeting on February 12th to discuss the presentation and to pick a topic. After much discussion, they decided that to focus on business retention. That's what they found was most important. So our next meeting is going to be scheduled for March 4th.
Thank you. Park and Recreation, their next meeting is next Tuesday, the 27th. Police Commission.
Police Commission met on February 12th. Chief Lovelace provided a 3-page list of concerns about areas and items that he has concern about in the new facility, but I understand the folks are here from the building committee and probably will be able to answer some of those concerns. The commissioners also reviewed and approved the proposed police and communications budget for 24-25 And now, as it was mentioned last year, the police and communications budget are one budget. It requires at this point, a 3.78% increase. The chief also presented a plan for a new position entitled Integrated Police Operations Manager. It's combining really 3 or 4 jobs within the police department: records, CALIA work, and technology. The commission agreed to forward the proposal to the town council, and I do see that it's on the agenda this evening. The commissioners also voted at this point to post the position of deputy chief both internally and externally, and that's the report.
Okay, thank you. Fire Commission.
Okay, so Fire Commission met on February 1st. Several discussions that took place during that meeting were they discussed keeping members that are over the retirement age of 70, that current requirement, as long as they can pass the physical requirements, set there to be an active firefighter, they would keep on the merit service plan. It was something that was passed along to the Finance Subcommittee, which I think was favorably looked upon. The projections so far that it will actually save the town some money. So that's something we'll learn more about as it comes to the full council. They also discussed, actually went through the ceremony to bring the new tower truck 1 into service. And they had a little ceremony on February 10th, Saturday, February 10th, to do so. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend that ceremony, but from what I hear, it was quick. It was a very nice ceremony to get things kicked off, to have that truck in service. We also discussed some of the capital budgets and operating budgets for both police both fire and ambulance, which is going to be coming up to full council during the upcoming budget meetings. And then, of course, did some updates on the current scanners underneath the brick system and getting the scanners to work properly. Apparently, they're working very well, though, with the new power, so they're all's kind of going along well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next meeting is for March 7th.
All right, thank you. Next committee is Planning and Zoning Commission.
Planning and zoning met on February 15th. Nothing out of the ordinary going on. Just there's going to be a doggy daycare, boarding and grooming at 2374 Foxen Road. That got approved. That's up by where Save and Discount used to be, next to the veterinarian. A business going to be expanding on Ciro Road, adding some separate buildings on their property. And 88 Totucket Road across from Silly Putty wants a zone change from residential to commercial. It's been commercial for as long as anyone can remember, operated commercial, but it's always been zoned as residential. So that's on the, that was just up for discussion. There was no decisions or anything made on that. That's about it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Next one is Finance Subcommittee. There are a number of items on our agenda tonight that were discussed at the Finance Subcommittee. One of them is as Jeff has mentioned, the merit service retirement plan for the volunteer fire department. That will be coming up, and also an investment policy statement from Pension Committee is also on the agenda. One item that is not on the agenda that I'm going to ask for a motion to amend the agenda for is, it was just handed out to us prior, is having laptops for all of the council members, the 9 council members. Currently, we have Chromebooks that were donated to us or given to us from the school system. And we have found that they are not very conducive to us doing business on them. We cannot get files very easily. It does not work very well for Teams meeting. It just is not serving our needs on here. And we definitely talked about this at Finance. So I'm going to ask for a motion to amend the agenda to add 13Q, laptop purchase for town council. Do I hear a motion?
Motion. I'll second that motion.
Okay, so this is just to amend the agenda at this point in time, and then we'll talk about it later. So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, thank you. Next committee report is Public Safety Communications Subcommittee.
Well, for those of you who have Verizon as a carrier, the good news is that Verizon has been putting up their antennas, so soon that will be available to folks. I hope that happens also for AT&T. The two other things are Norcon has begun taking down the old equipment on the old tower, and the final test of the new radio system will take place in June, and hopefully the police facility will be able to function at that time, so that will be part of that test.
Okay, great, thank you. And the last committee report is from Inland Wetlands.
Inland Wetlands met on January 24th. There were 2 approvals. They approved with conditions construction of a proposed contractor's storage facility with associated parking, loading and circulation space. They also approved with conditions the town of North Branford's replacement of a storm drainage system on Lake Ponds Road, and that was it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Before we get to the town manager's report, I would like to move one agenda item, item 11A, up to just before the town manager's report. Item 11A is the resignation of Victor Pediandria from the Permanent Project Building Committee effective February 9th. And there is a letter in our packet that Marie is going to read for us.
Okay, Dear Mayor Angeloni, I am resigning from the Permanent Project Building Committee with great reluctance and sadness. I want to thank the entire town council for giving me the honor and privilege to work with such a great project as a new police station and to be able to serve dedicated members of this committee. I am resigning because the work does not align with the plan's specifications. The committee committed untold time, energy, and thought into developing a state-of-the-art police station to call for specifications that would result in a Class A facility. The citizens and taxpayers of the town of North Branford approved and expected the police station to be constructed according to the plans created by the committee. The work being performed is different from the specification of the plans. As a result, the building planned by the committee and expected by citizens of North Branford will fall well short of its goal. Further, some town officials are reluctant to take responsibilities, to take those responsible to task for their failure to follow the specifications. As support for my position, there is a letter from the SPA, architect of record for the police station, raising various concerns with merits. In addition, the third-party commission agent also raised concerns with merits. The fear of litigation and retaliation from some town officials has caused a wet blanket to act on these construction failures. I have to disagree with the approach above, and therefore I cannot continue to stay on the committee. Once again, I thank everyone involved in allowing me to serve on this distinguished committee, and it's difficult to leave this position. I will resign effective today, February 9th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Thank you again for the opportunity, Victor Pediandria.
Thank you. I would just like to thank Victor for all of his time and effort that he has put into both the high school project and the police department project. He was a member of the committee as an alternate for the high school, and he was a member of the police department as one of the people on the committee. And I know that everyone on that committee has put in a lot of hours to make sure that our buildings, that they are constructed and we don't end up with another NBIS, because that is, we still are dealing with that problem. And so I just want to thank Victor for all of his time and effort and hard work on this committee at this time.
I'd like to echo the mayor's statements as well. Thank you, Victor.
Okay, moving on to the town manager report. Item A, general updates.
Thank you, Mayor, Town Council. The governor's proposed adjustments to the state biennial budget were released earlier this month, the onset of the legislative session, February 7th. In your folders, you have a breakdown of the adjustments to municipal aid to the town of North Branford as tabulated by CCM. It's mostly positive news as we're being made whole on our motor vehicle tax reimbursements, while losing a little in education, adult education in LoCIP. Overall, we're up 3% in state aid in these proposed adjustments. I remain in contact with our state representative, Vin Candelora, on this and other issues impacting our town, as well as our Senate delegation. And I'll report any relevant news as the session moves towards its May 8th adjournment. Our town budget is in process, with department budgets currently being reviewed by the finance director and I as we look toward delivering the proposed budget to the town council in advance of the April 1st charter mandated deadline. The Shoreline Chamber of Commerce will be holding its annual Excellence Awards this Thursday, February 22nd at Woodwinds in Brantford. This year, we're pleased to see the Excellence Award in Innovation go to Spark Cycle Works of North Brantford, and the Community Partner Award go to the North Brantford Potato and Corn Festival. Congratulations to these recipients on their awards, and we look forward to celebrating with them at this event. We recently held 2 more ribbon cuttings for establishments here in town. At the beginning of the month, we welcomed Kiki's Grab and Go Kitchen. I was joined by Mayor Angeloni, Councilor Diamond, Assistant Town Manager Burke, and other local members of the Shoreline Chamber at their ribbon cutting with owner Kathy Bizzuto. Located at 1874 Middletown Avenue, they offer breakfast all day, home-style meals for takeout and dining in, as well as sauces, candles, and sweets. We also welcomed the newly renovated Supreme Seafood, which is under new ownership earlier this month. Mayor Angeloni, Assistant Town Manager Burke, and I were joined by the Shoreline Chamber, as well as Scott Dolch, President and CEO of the Connecticut Restaurant Association, to welcome them. Now owned by Robert Marcarelli and his partners, they are keeping alive a tradition originally brought to us in 1989 by Ralph Amendola and Vinnie Caprio. The new group brings over 70-plus years of experience in the restaurant and hospitality industry and have a great menu to check out. They're located at 999 Foxen Road in Twin Lakes Commons. On Saturday morning of last week, as the Deputy Mayor had mentioned, I had the pleasure of joining Mayor Angeloni, Councilors Palladino and Abelson, and everyone at the North Brantford Fire Department for the dedication ceremony held at Company 1 for the brand new Truck 1. We're all proud to see the new truck that the council has made a significant investment in, now fully in service. I had the honor of being invited to attend the North Brantford Fire Department Company 2 officer installation and awards dinner on Monday night of last week. I want to congratulate Captain Hausman and the rest of the officers at Company 2, and there were many impressive awards given out for length of service, but I do want to point out one particularly auspicious award. Our own Finance Director and Acting Fire Chief Anthony Esposito was given a plaque in recognition of 45 years in the fire service, so congratulations to him on that regard. Last week on Tuesday, we had the first real significant snow event in some time, and we received 8 to 10 inches of snow throughout the day. I want to thank our public safety personnel, police, fire, and ambulance for being on the spot with a handful of motor vehicle accidents we had. And I especially want to thank the personnel at our Public Works Department for the outstanding job they did in handling a lengthy snow event from the early morning hours through the evening of Tuesday. They do a great job, and I want to acknowledge their whole team for it. Last Thursday, we experienced a fiber outage at Town Hall. An oversized truck snagged our fiber line on Foxen Road at about 10:30 a.m., snapping it. Town Hall was without phone and internet service during the remainder of the day. We notified the media and posted our outage on social media and our website to try to alert everyone with business at Town Hall. Service was not fully restored until about 8:30 p.m. by Crown Castle, and I want to single out and thank our IT consultant, Dennis Pannone, who stayed after hours with the crew in less than enjoyable temperatures until the job was complete and were verified to be up and running. We did catch an image of the truck on our security camera, but the image doesn't appear clear enough to identify it, so we may do a wanted poster of the truck, who knows. As of February 1st, we have been accepting applications for the elderly homeowner, totally disabled homeowner, and additional veterans programs at the assessor's office. Applicants must be 65 by December 31st, 2023, or totally disabled as designated by the Social Security Administration to qualify. To qualify for the state program, income levels are $43,800 for a single person, $53,400 for a married couple. To qualify for a local program, income levels are $50,000 if single and $61,000 if married. This is in accordance with the changes made by the council last year, which increased these thresholds. Applications are being accepted at the assessor's office through May 15th of 24. Park and Rec has a few new programs coming up. Tomorrow, February 21st, they're holding a Mary Amter culinary class from 5 o'clock to 7 p.m. for ages 5 to 14. The cost is $40 per resident, $45 for non-resident. This class is a Taylor Swift cooking class making chicken tenders and microphone cake pops. There's I didn't write a joke for that one, sorry. There's also a babysitter certification course coming on March 2nd at Stanley T. Williams from 9 to 2 o'clock p.m. Cost is $65 per resident, $70 per non-resident for those ages 12 to 15. You can register for these at nbrecreation.com and also learn some new information about their upcoming summer camps. The IRS Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, or VITA program, is once again being offered through our town libraries, offering free help in preparing and filing tax returns for those in need. Those interested should call the Atwater or Smith libraries to put in contact with our VITA coordinator. And finally, the newly formed Veterans Service Commission will have its organizational meeting next Tuesday, February 27th. At that meeting, they'll elect their officers and set their schedule for meetings going forward. Mayor Angeloni and I will be there to get the commission officially on its feet and to swear in its new members. And I know we're all looking forward to the work they will do in support of our veteran community. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay, next item is under the town manager's report, Permanent Project Building Committee, report from committee member.
So I'll just touch on the few items. I know we've, per council's request, we're having Al Rose, who is the Permanent Project Building Committee's designated spokesman to the council, give you an update on that project status. But as far as the North Branford Intermediate School, the project is expected to ramp up during the April break. North Branford High School in phase 2, the roofing is 25% complete. Exterior masonry has been commenced in this 5% complete, and the interior concrete masonry units are 98% complete. Interior framing is 95% complete, and a reimbursement request number 3 has been received from the state in the amount of $4,672,155. And so with that, I'd like to bring up Al Rose to discuss the progress of the police department project.
Thank you. Al Rose, 40 Valley Road. See, that's the way you're supposed to.
Yeah, I know.
Tell them who you are.
Your old days on the council are coming back to you.
That's right. You gotta hold them accountable. So I'm here tonight to, talk about the projects going on with the building committee, and certainly, I'm going to address Vic's letter. I would like to thank Victor for his invaluable knowledge and expertise for the time that he's served on that on the committee with us. And I'm sure he's still going to get some phone calls from us as we go forward. The projects, all the projects that we're involved in are they're moving forward, and they're moving forward at the schedule that seems to be where they should be. In construction projects, there's always problems. There's always mistakes, and it's not once a month. It's every day. So our building committee is made up of I don't know. There's at least 6 of us that are all Type A personality. We own our own businesses, and we have some pretty interesting discussions on our every Monday night meetings, and we don't always agree. Having said that, Vic's letter has some merit on the PD. I'm not an expert in mechanical installation and I'm certainly not an expert on the contract documents or the plans. We definitely have some problems. We have more problems at the PD than anywhere else at the moment, but we are addressing them to the best of our ability. The problems that Vic brought up, we had a meeting 2 Mondays ago, and we had our attorney in the room, and for those of you who have worked with Attorney D'Onofrio, you got to love his candor, and we went over the problems, and that night the builder did not agree that he had done anything wrong. So, and then he said, and per contract, and I'm going to just generalize it, not get into legalese. He says, per contract, the architect has to send me a letter telling me what I did wrong, and then I can get back to you guys. And if I did something wrong, we'll come up with a number and all this. So we gave him 48 hours to, no, we didn't do that night. That was Thursday morning. We gave him 48 hours to take a look at the things that were called out. And the committee had a meeting Thursday morning, and that's when he said, I haven't received anything in writing from the architect telling me that I did anything wrong. So that needs to happen, and then I will get back to you guys. Going back to the Monday night meeting, with the attorney in the room, he went down, he looked at the whole situation, and the contract documents and the drawings, as I see it, are convoluted. If you want to study it, you can find a sentence that says the builder's right, and you can find one that says the town is right, or the architect is right. There was apparently, when they started on some of these things, they got permission from the architect, and then he reneged on it, and after hearing all these things, our attorney said to us, so this is the way these things go. We can, and he says, I know their attorney, and be happy to go on the clock for the town, and we'll go over this thing for 5 to 8 years, and the town will have spent $500,000, and probably get in a room with a judge, and he'll tell us for you guys to get in a room and figure this out. So his recommendation to us was get in a room and figure this out. So that's how our Thursday morning meeting came about. We were gonna get in the room and figure it out. But the builder was still not admitting he had done anything wrong, and he needed more time. We didn't meet this Monday night because of the holiday, so we will meet next Monday night and see where the builder's at, which then, as a building committee, we will decide how we're gonna move forward. I feel that, everybody on the building committee is trying to get the best building that we can get, but nobody on the building committee wants to waste time or money going after something if our attorney's telling us we can't win. And nobody's telling us we can't win yet. There's just too many unknowns. So that's where we're at on those issues. But Lou Fonda's in the room, and he's a mechanical expert, so if anyone had any questions, because there were things about with merit, things about the way the equipment was installed. But this is what we're up against as a building committee. We have professionals on the building committee that are, as Al sees it, far superior to anybody that we have working for us on these projects. And so some of our issues is everybody on the committee thinks we can hold them to our own personal standards. And that's pretty difficult to do. You can't really go above the industry standard or the code or highest and best use. So we have this equipment that was installed. Not one of us on the committee would have installed it the way they did. But then we get a letter from Trane, who's the manufacturer, that says all this equipment meets our standards for installation, meets our clearances. So, and that came in after Vic had raised the concerns. So, as a committee, there's been no deals made. I can't tell you which way it's gonna go until we find out, what the builder's what he's gonna do. But I do know from learning from Rusty, who's here for another matter as the architect for the high school, And Jeff D'Onofrio has told us with issues with the high school, that the architectural firm and the design team have final say. So if anything, we need to have the architectural firm for the PD do their job and really get back to us and say, this is what the intent was. And you know, I've seen Rusty hold Gilbane to the fire. And it appears to me that that's probably what's gonna have to happen over at the PD with some of these issues, but it's all a work in progress at the time. So I don't know if you have any, you know, any mechanical questions. I'm gonna defer to Lou.
I have a few questions, I guess. And I don't know if this lies with the building committee or more with town hall. We have and I'm gonna speak in generics because I'm a police officer. I haven't been in the building trades for 20 years, and even then I was an apprentice. So, if we have specifications for a project, all right, who from the town is holding their feet to the fire and in the taxpayer's interest to make sure that it's being done according to the specification that was agreed upon? Who does that fall under?
Do you want me to chime in just?
Yeah.
Anyone.
Adam Kudos.
He's our contractor.
I'm the newest member to the committee. Nice meeting everybody, and Vic, I do want to thank you. You have invaluable insight on this committee over the short time I was able to work with you. My whole career path, I've started in construction in a CPA firm. I'm a licensed CPA. I'm not an attorney, full disclosure, but I've actually worked for Jeff D'Onofrio on construction claims in the past. So I've handled that aspect, the financial aspect on construction contracts since 2006. So I've been involved in the construction industry my entire career. These claims and the plans and the specifications become very convoluted. Our role is to protect, A, the town and the taxpayer, to make sure that their money is being spent in the best use to meet those design plans and specifications, which is what we're collectively talking about with these issues. So the issues that Vic is bringing up are 100% valid points. Nobody's discrediting the concerns of the longevity, as Mayor Angeloni just pointed out, is we don't want another intermediate school scenario. I wasn't there. It sounds like it was pretty bad. There's a lot of bad taste in everybody's mouths for that. Our role, Nick, to your point, is to make sure that the ambiguity within those plans and specs don't cost the taxpayers more money. And when you go to construction claims, there's going to be misinterpretations. There's going to be the contractor's interpretation. There's going to be our interpretation. There's going to be the architect's interpretation. When this goes to a court, the first thing that we asked as the committee, respecting the town's money, is this going to be a safe facility, and is this going to meet code specifications, which the answer we received is yes. So that concern of ours was one of the first things that we wanted to make sure. The interpretation of the plan and specification is where it gets convoluted, to your point, and that's why these types of scenarios and these large construction projects get very convoluted, because we might sit there and interpret the spec as every single home run, and I'm just going to point on one of the big issues that are coming up, every single home run needs to be in a conduit. They're not doing it in conduit. They're doing it in something called an MC cable, which is a lesser value. Is it going to cause a critical issue to today on the project? No. Could it create an issue down the road, which might cause downtime on the project? Possibly. Is the plan and spec directly calling for conduit?
Right, and to piggyback on that one, because that's the one that I went to, because my limited experience was 4 years at Flat Tech for electrical and doing that. So if we went in the plans and we're paying for conduit, and conduit costs more, and it's more labor intensive, and we agreed to that, and that's what the taxpayers are paying for,
Correct.
And they're using MC cable, which may be the code and stuff, but it's a cheaper product, where's the money going?
So there's three options in that scenario. That's why I wanted to highlight this, because I want everybody just to kind of put this into everything comes down to dollars and cents in this.
And that's what I'm concerned with.
So our dollars and cents, what are we paying for? If we were to do conduit, where the project is today, that entire project, us as the town, whether it's coming from the building committee or the town council, we need to tell the contractor to stop work. The second we direct, and just like Al mentioned, all of us are involved, we're business owners, I'm a business owner, I have 3 different companies. The second you direct the contractor to stop work, we own it. Whether or not this is the right, wrong, or indifferent, we own that. So every cost that gets spent, whether we can collect it in court later on or not, that moment we stop a construction contractor from doing work, a general contractor, that's on us as the town because we made that directive. Now, that's the first scenario, which is making it exactly to the way we want it, to your point. That's what we bought, that's what the town owns, that's what the taxpayers are paying for. The second scenario is we put a corrective action in place from this point forward. What is that going to do and how does that get implemented? So that's one of the options that we're entertaining with the general contractor, is where we are in this project, could we accomplish the plans and specs? And to be very clear, the plans and specs, it's not gonna cause the job to not function correctly. It's just what did we pay for? So this is coming down to the dollars and cents. So we've asked them to entertain, okay, well, if we have the EOC Center, which is the emergency ops, could we see these corrective actions specifically in there to make sure that that center has the exact plan and spec that we expect as the town? So they're entertaining that. The final option is we want money back, because the facility's going to work, it's going to function as properly, as designed, but the town, the taxpayers are paying for conduit, which they've got MCK. That's the third option. All of this comes down to the negotiation that Al mentioned, is we need the contractor to come to the table to tell us at this point in the project, which one of those 3 options are we going to get? No matter what, we own that contract. We have a surety bond on Newfield, which is the contractor. We control everything that happens from here on out in terms of the dollars and cents on this project. If we say we want to go to court, we can do that, but full disclosure, I've dealt with these kind of claims in the past. Just like Jeff D'Onofrio said, we hired him as our attorney for the town, so we would need to respect his direction as well. These things are gonna cost the town a lot of money. We might have a favorable outcome, but we might never get those legal fees back. So at the end of the day, does that make sense? I don't have an answer yet, but that could cost us to fix a $50,000 credit. That might cost us $150,000 in legal fees to fight that. We don't have that answer yet. But the project is not going to be hurt if we continue forward. We have retainage on the contractor, just for whatever everybody's benefit in this room and anybody else that's listening. Retainage, we hold, the town holds that money until this contract is done. We get final sign off from every single town inspectors, the architect and engineer. We get full comfort that that job is done, and that retainage is 7% right now. So you're talking $700,000. It's gonna far exceed what this dollar value impact is. So at the end of the day, we say this wasn't built to our expectations, and we say that that credit is worth $100 grand. We can hold that money back. We can get an expert to come in here, review it. We have options, is my point. We're not gonna be left holding a bag that's gonna cost the taxpayers money that they didn't get the product that they paid for. If they bought a Cadillac and they got a Honda, we're gonna get the price for the Honda at the end. That's what our goal is in this situation.
And if you have them stop right now, we have liquidated damages on the project, and they have an end date of what, April?
Right.
So, I mean, that just gives them an excuse not to finish on time.
You gotta be.
At the last meeting, I had a question regarding who's the clerk of the works.
Tom Bailey.
Okay, so, would you mind standing up? I have a couple questions.
Do you want me to say or sit?
Because, yeah, I'd rather him answer some of the questions, because he's the one that's,
Thanks, Adam.
yeah, thank you very much, sir, I appreciate it. So I have a question, because many people don't know what a clerk of the works is. Could you help us understand what your role is?
My role is to keep eyes on, for the town's perspective, that the money's being spent properly, that we're meeting the codes, plans, and specs as put forth by the project. I'm an intermediate between the town and also the contractor. I cannot run the job as I see fit. I cannot stop the job as I see fit. I report directly back to the building committee and to the town council for my reports.
Okay, so there's been changes here. So they're not change orders, there's been changes. Now, when this happens, are there anything submitted regarding these changes that are brought to your attention? and who approves or disapproves any changes?
As set forth by the building committee, any changes had to be brought before the building committee to be proceeded on. So therefore, anything, I'm sitting on several right now that are going to be coming up on Monday night. They have to be approved by the building committee before they go any farther. And they also have to be vetted out by the architect.
Okay, that was going to be my, so what role does the architect have in reviewing any change orders? So,
He goes, the contractor goes to me, to the architect, this is what we want. The architect has to vet it all out, whether he approves it or not. If he approves it up or down, if it goes up, then it goes to me, to the building committee. Then we, as a committee, votes on it and proceed from there.
have there been any change orders that result in any cost savings?
Any what?
Any change that resulted in cost savings?
There has been some.
Okay. And is there a summary report for any changes orders up to date? Is there a summary report for any, or any changes up to date, as of date, for any of the changes? Do we have a summary report? Okay, and who's it submitted to? When? Is it done weekly? Is it done monthly, or how's this done?
Weekly.
Weekly? Okay, that's when you have your meetings, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and where's the overall detailed construction schedule?
Right now?
Yes, sir.
According to my last conversation with Newfield, they're on track to be finished by the end of April.
And that's updated and reviewed weekly, correct?
Basically daily by me.
So basically, we're here today for a reason, because we've been made aware of a few issues that we had at the department. And this is not directly to you.
Yep.
All right, because people in the community have all concerns, because I've been approached regarding the department and every stuff, and a lot of people have, you know, a lot of respect for the chairman of the police department who's brought this up. So I think he should come up here and ask a couple of questions regarding these matters. You know, because we have a lot of things, and this is beyond you now, that has been brought to our attention.
Right. And on that matter, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarifications. The conversations I've had with Newfield directly pertaining to the electrical issues, it started back, I believe, in November, when everything started processing. Question was raised, went to Newfield. Newfield said that they sat down with the electrical contractor, went over the codes and specifications. They felt, in their interpretation, Newfield's interpretation, they were meeting it. The question was raised again. That is not what the town of North Branford is paying for. The home runs need to be in conduit, not MC cable. Newfield said, we're sorry, this is our interpretation. The architect said that you can proceed. A couple months later, we get another letter. When Victor raised the question again, are we going to get our conduit versus the MC? We want the conduit for our home runs. Well, then the architect comes back and goes, yes, Victor, you're right. So now we're coming back and Newfield saying, no, we already have the letter from the architect saying, no, we are directed to go ahead and keep on putting in the MC cable, which I would say is close to 90% done. So to go back and rip out everything, you're going to set the job back several months, if it happens.
But if they stopped it at that time, we wouldn't be where we're at today. If they just made all the
Again,
changes,
it comes
then,
under
correct?
interpretation.
I'm sorry?
That interpretation, whose interpretation? Is it Newfield's interpretation? Is it Victor's and the town's interpretation? Where does the architect say? He has final say, yay or nay. And he said proceed at that time. Then he retracted himself a couple weeks ago saying, no, it should have been done this way. So that's where we're at with that now.
I just, it concerns me how everyone highly respects someone that's made all these issues aware to everyone on the town council, and he's no longer on that committee. I just want to leave it at that. I would like him to come up and address some of the questions that we're asking here regarding his findings.
Well, yeah, I think that really is building committee, that this is getting more into building committee things. This is, I mean, we asked for a report, they came and gave us a report, and the report as it stands right now is basically they are in negotiations in which they are handling on Monday night at Monday night's Permanent Project Building Committee meeting. I think we've gotten a very good update as to where we are on the police station. And I think at this point in time, we need to just let it go forward and wait until next week's building committee meeting to see where they are on this issue. And so at this point in time, I'm just going to close the discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for being here and answering my questions, because, like I said, this isn't my forte, so, you know, we put the people on our permanent project building committee for a reason. They're the best people we have in town to do this. They've been doing a great job. I'm sure they'll continue to be doing a great job. And they're not the ones, for the record, that I don't have faith in right now.
No, I'm gonna be honest with you, as someone who's on that committee, this committee is filled with the best professionals that this town can offer, amongst, not even this town, but in any town. They know what they're doing, they spend the time doing it right. They do bicker once in a while amongst each other, but all that bicker isn't just to hear each other talk. They're actually figuring out what's going on and using their expertise and all their experience to figure out how to get the project done right. So I commend you all for the efforts that you put in. I feel like sometimes things get orchestrated to be shifted in one way versus another and to look some way, but I know that you guys are doing a great job, and I want you to know that I very much appreciate the efforts that you're putting in here, each and every one of you.
Rose, can I ask one question?
Sure.
I just have one question. Al, in the beginning of your presentation, you talked about the architect has final say.
That's correct.
But I didn't hear any.
And we got that from
The builder.
Jeff D'Onofrio.
Yeah, okay.
That if we have a conflict with the builder,
Yeah.
the architect is the mediator, unless you're gonna go to the next step
Okay.
of mediation.
I just have a simple question. So, but I never heard the architect ever coming back and making the final decision.
So
That's my question. Are they involved or not?
the architect's involved.
Okay.
And I will tell you from my point of view, that's a whole convoluted, again, as either Adam or Lou said, you know, the builder, and that's why I think where Jeff was like, you guys don't want to go to court. He said, get in a room and settle. And he says, neither party's going to be happy, neither party's going to win. But get in a room and settle. Because if I was the builder and I had a letter from the architect telling me I can use MC cable, I don't care that 2 weeks later the architect changed the letter and said, oh no, you can't use that. You know, I mean, there's just so many things that would be really ugly in trying to not come up with some sort of a solution. But I would ask the mayor if, you know, talking to Victor today, he did ask if he can come up and say a few words. So I would ask that he could do that now, but if he can't, then he'd have to come up and do it at citizen statements. But he had asked if he could come up and talk like that. So I have no problem with him doing that if.
We'll wait until citizen statements on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to community events and presentations. The presentation of the ARPA fund check to all the King's horses.
Rose.
So, got this check here, which nobody should attempt to stick into an ATM drawer anywhere. I think. But if I can get council to come out front here, and we'll get a presentation.
So this is our first, from ARPA funding, the town council appropriated $50,000 for nonprofits, and all the King's horses, was the first nonprofit that, submitted an application, and we were very happy to award them $5,000, for their
Yeah.
I agree with
Okay. So the next item on the agenda, we are up to item 10, citizen statements, petitions, and correspondence. And I will just remind everyone that when you come up, please state your name and address. And we are going to have a 3-minute rule for speaking. So.
Mayor, I'll make it short and sweet. Victor Peter Andrea. I want to thank the council members and everybody put me on the board, but most of all, I want to thank all the permanent project building committee members, and especially Al Rose. I got really emotionally involved in it, spent a lot of time on it, and Al did call me after I put in my first notice on July 1st for resignation, and he called me and said, Vic, for your better health and aggravation, focus on your business and everything else. And he said, you know, you're better off resigning. I don't want anybody to convolute what they're doing. It is the most stressful thing I have ever done in 30 years of business. There's a lot of moving parts. They are doing an excellent job. They have to take consideration for the job, the citizens, money. There's so many moving parts. But I would bet on them all day, and I'm not leaving them. I'm just taking a sabbatical back. And they could all call me, which they all do, and anything I have, they can have for knowledge. I just can't get into a meeting watching things go in a different direction, knowing what's right and what's wrong. They just have to do what's right. And Adam, I'd bet on him all day in a room with the attorneys. He's good at what he does. That's why we had asked the board. But Al, I really want to thank you for all the stuff you've ever done for me. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
Good morning or good afternoon. My name's Frank Bragano. I live at 23 Montgomery Road in Northford, and I'm here to speak about the betterment of our community, and that is the proposed blight ordinance. As some of you may recall that I spoke to this body in 2019. I was part of the group that put the blight ordinance together. This was a heartfelt ordinance that we put together. It wasn't supposed to pit neighbor versus a 1/4-inch grass height difference. It was supposed to promote the betterment of our community, to take and get rid of the blight that is throughout North Branford. It doesn't take much to see that. It was not to be enforced by our police department, and I want to make that real clear because I have heard people mention that the police department is supposed to enforce it. That was not the intent of our group. It was supposed to be enforced by the zoning officer. Plus, because, as I said, this was a heartfelt ordinance. We looked at it that the community here, the zoning enforcement officer, would work with community groups, churches that have outreach programs, people like that can take and help communities, help people that cannot take care of their property, help them take care of their property. The intent is to get rid of some of the people here that have, I know I had a neighbor that's gone, that he had boats, cars, trailers, and junk galore piled between his house and his parents' house. It's when everything went into foreclosure, it took 8 loads of Mr. Bizzuto's big trucks to take his junk out. That's blight. That's what we're talking about. And it shouldn't be just regulated against homeowners. We should look at it as across the board for businesses too. But I'm here tonight to encourage this council to move forward with a blight ordinance. You may recall the town attorney at that time pointed out that one of the most valuable ordinances a town can have is the blight ordinance. And I'm assuming our town attorney here would also agree with the previous town attorney how important a blight ordinance is to this town, and we must do that. And in closing, I know we like to say, and I don't know, hopefully nobody will shoot me, that this is a farming community. It is a farming community, but it's also a residential community, and we must respect the residences that we have here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Palumbo, Glen Meadow Drive, Northford. I just want to echo on some of the committee members' as a citizen and thank Vic for his time, for what he's done and brought to the table for us. It is stressful. You know, Monday nights, you know, and I say it all the time, we designate an hour or 6 hours, and we're there for the duration to do what we got to do. You know, the town ought to be proud, and this council gave us these options to do, whether it's the high school or the PD. You know, they're beautiful structures. There are issues that come about every day. All of us are in this trades. I'm building a building now. I just did another building. Every day, as Al said, there's problems. But we will get through them because we have a good committee. And we have a council like you guys that understand, that stand behind us. We appreciate that. And, you know, we want to make sure that the taxpayers getting what they deserve. And we will make sure that. And we have a good attorney that we can consult with. But I want to thank each and every one of these guys and Victor for being there and spending the time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Steve Maloney, 224 Foxton Road, Trailer 3C, North Branford, Connecticut. And some of you probably know me by sight. I'm the dude that rides motorcycles 365 days a year on Totoket Road. And we got problems. It's a mobile home park. We've had serious flooding from the Farm River. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed as soon as possible, because what's next time going to be like? And I'm afraid it's not if it's going to happen again, but when it's going to happen again. And a lot of my neighbors are senior citizens. I know 2 months ago they evacuated everybody in a bus, and it was, you know, stress. It was difficult. And I think what you need to do is build a flood channel, or maybe dredge the Farm River, because you know, with climate change. Before climate change, these problems didn't exist, but it's happening. And basically, I think it would be good if the town, as soon as they could, just fix this problem. I think it would benefit everybody. And I know if you took a poll amongst the residents of the mobile home park and people and businesses who live near the Farm River, they will agree with me. And it should be done. And just going back in history, just another example, in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, the Red River, they had catastrophic floods back in the 50s, and they built the Red River flood channel around Winnipeg to divert the floodwaters from the city. And at the time, a lot of people called it wasteful government spending, but it solved the problem. And I'm sure there's 750,000 Winnipeg residents will say it was a great thing to do, building a flood channel. And I think we need to do something now. I mean, like, luckily, there hasn't been any damages, but if the water comes up high enough, it might damage some of the mobile homes. And plus, also I worry, I got my motorcycles, I don't want them to get damaged, and plus my neighbors' motor vehicles. So I think it'd be good if we got this problem taken care of as soon as we can, really. And I want to thank everybody for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. And I'm Al Leakey at 224 Foxton Road 2C. I called the governor, and he told me this has got to be done. Then I called Sandy Arena, State Attorney General, and I'm pushing this. When could this get done to fix the water situation?
We don't have an answer. This is the first that we're hearing of this, so
Yeah.
you have to give us time to look at it and see once, but
I know
I can't
Victor-
give you an answer tonight.
Okay, because Victor knows about it, and I talked to him about it. Because if they're going to dredge the stream, they got
Yeah.
I know, I talked to him. Oh, over there? Okay. No, because they got to find out when we're going to do it. Because you can't keep not doing it. Last time I fell and hurt my shoulder. So I didn't sue the town or anything, but it's hurting. So we got to know when they're going to do it. Because the governor said that's the law, because I checked the law. So I appreciate you guys' help. So let us know very shortly, because if it doesn't, then we got to get our attorneys to sue the town. Or, no, we don't have to. The state attorneys will do it. Thank you.
So, Madam Mayor, if I
Yes.
could, because we've had a couple people there, if I could, I'd like to bring Victor Benny up just to talk to you about what we're doing. We're aware of the issue that's taking place there. Certainly, we've got some, you know, trailer park is in a spot of property that's in a flood zone, and it's predating local zoning, so it is a unique situation, and we're aware of it, and I'll turn it over to Victor to talk about it.
So it's
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. I think Mike Downs kind of set me up there so we're dealing with 224 Boxon Road, the mobile park is private property. The private property owner, from information I get from the state floodplain coordinator, is typically the entity that's responsible for flooding on their property. We go to a larger extent of what we're dealing with the Farm River watershed. Well, let me back up. So out of I count on GIS, I count 44 trailer or mobile home park location structures on that property. All of those structures are in the flood zone, which means that we know it floods. The comment that was made that it's going to happen again is 100% true. It is absolutely going to happen again because that property was developed when in a flood zone. So there's nothing that I see the town doing to change what happened in history. But if we look at a larger extent of the Farm River watershed, I do have some local reports and things that I'm going to start reviewing, and I've already started reviewing, being the hazard mitigation plan, which was prepared through SCROG with participation from the town, myself and some other individuals. I have the Farm River watershed-based plan, which is another plan that includes, some flood criteria and some changes that can hopefully be made. And I also have the North Branford Flood Hazard Ordinance, which, we know we've had for several years, I think, from the probably the 70s or early 80s that was enacted. And I got to check that date. But what's good about the flood ordinance is if you go north of this property up the Farm River, for the most part, the extent of the flood zone portion, that blue portion on our GIS, when you click on that layer, the FEMA flood zone portion of the Farm River watershed has primarily been undeveloped, and that is credit to our flood ordinance, which has over time kept track of all these properties that wanted to develop in the flood zone. They weren't allowed to, or they, in doing so, had to compensate other ways to make sure that they didn't add to the flooding. We also go through all of our planning and zoning projects that are approved along the watershed and in the town have to meet the stormwater standards, which require a no net increase in runoff. So we track all that and we review all that through the review processes. So I would just say that I've had emails and calls into the state floodplain coordinator, reaching out, trying to see if that individual can provide us with some guidance on how to proceed. Seeing that this is a private property, is there something the town can do to contribute to maybe reducing flooding along that section of the Farm River and maybe the entire length of the Farm River? But this is the type of thing that it's going to take a long time. I'm talking several years if any of these projects that we may come up with come to fruition, to make a noticeable change along the Farm River. And unfortunately, what some of these projects do is they don't stop the flooding from happening. They increase the amount of time it takes for those floodwaters to reach that location, which provides time for emergency management to clear the property and go through that process. So it buys time is what they do. So, I mean, we're dealing with something. I know climate change was also mentioned. There's and I know I was asked to keep it short, but it's not really a short answer, unfortunately, because with the calls that I've been getting are leaning towards, again, legal action being taken, and we're just trying to figure out, is there something the town can do before that avenue is taken when we're dealing with private property. But from the climate change perspective, we're dealing with storms, and I think everybody in the room behind me too and watching can appreciate that we're dealing with more intense storms, more intense rain. They're happening more often, and the duration is much shorter. So when people are saying, well, we're getting these 100-year storms all the time, it's not true. We're getting storms that are happening over a shorter period of time, a 3-hour to 6-hour window, and the watershed's not designed to handle that. The 100-year storm is a design storm that happens over a 24-hour period, and that's the difference from what we're seeing now. So I guess my report is that I'm working towards some information from the state floodplain coordinator. I'm probably going to put together at least a note, a website edition that will address all this and kind of, give people, especially private property owners, a way that they can go about looking into ways to help decrease flooding on their properties.
Okay, and we'll keep it on we'll do updates on the agenda as you get information, and we'll just get updates to see where we are on it as we move along. So, thank you.
Thank you, yes.
You have notified all the residents in that particular zone of what's going on? You've kept them
So the flood zone along the Farm River is,
I understand, you're keeping them abreast of what you're doing.
not as of yet.
Because from what I was getting is they want to know what we're doing. I'm hearing what you're doing.
Right.
Do they know what you're doing, is what I'm saying. Because that's what they want to know. They're looking for information as to what you're doing for them. You understand?
Well, I think we're going to
the point is that my stance on this is that the town is not responsible for flooding on private property. So we're not taking any steps to notify people that it's going to flood on the property when it's already noted and that it's in a flood zone.
Huh? I understand it's private property, but they want to know what you're doing.
I think that would be better suited for our emergency management division.
They should know.
If there's a notification to be made, it would be better coming from like an emergency management.
All right, forget it.
Okay, thank you, Victor.
We got trees growing in the streams, that's what's holding the water back.
Okay, thank you, Al. Okay.
Bill Savastano, Sunnyside Drive. Last year we talked about the tax relief for seniors, and you did update the ordinance, the credits, the thresholds, but you didn't update the cap. If you remember right, I said I'd be back in January, and here I am. So information I've got from the assessor's office in July of 2022, 150 people took advantage of the $300 credit, and you have the $100,000 cap. Well, that's only $45,000. This past July, 210 people now take advantage of the $500 credit. That's $106,000. In July this year goes to 700 times 200 people. That's 140,000. So you plan to be over the cap. So we're going to get that cap raised, so we don't have to go into some.
We're going into budget season, so that's on the agenda for the budget season.
Okay, thank you. You could have said that earlier. Anyway, the other thing is blight. Mr. Brigano couldn't have said it any better. You know, like the stuff they have in their folders, they had it weeks ago.
Those stuff that you brought in, that was the most updated. They've gotten that, yeah.
Yes. I have some stuff I brought in, about 12 pages of where I started with this blight. There's a timeline from when I got involved, and then when we went in front of P&Z, and then subsequently brought it here. Just to hear your December meeting, you were all over the place like we started really from the beginning again. Let me just hopefully clear up a couple of things. The ad hoc committee had a document from East Haven, that's the PPS standards, and it was a 16-page document. That's something you didn't see. You saw a 10-page document. I have 3 sets of documents right here. So you saw probably the second and the third. Now, if you remember correctly, I'm going to ask Ron if he remembers, because he was very new in the council, also with Walter, he's not here tonight. But as we started the November meeting, the town attorney Marino said he handed the latest copy out. Ron, you remember that?
Vaguely, yes.
Vaguely. Well, it was a paper copy. I never got it because I don't sit on the council. But that was the final, basically at the time, which cleared up all about the zoning enforcement officer, him being the only one that was going to be the guy in charge. And there was a couple other little things, but I just wanted to clear that up because I heard that mentioned again. And like I said, Frank spoke a lot and couldn't say I couldn't say anything better. But I will speak about the CEO. I think it was this past October, we had a discussion up here, and we find out the money for the budget for that part-time position is still there. And we don't have a person in place for since the middle of the pandemic anyway. That's when Tom Hogarty left. So you gotta get that person hired again. Now, again, part of the material I gave you was 3 reports that Tom Hogarty did. Here's a man, and I've been on record saying he did a good job. I'll say it again tonight, because I knew him personally. But anyway, here's a guy who went out of his way, over and above this job, and did reports every 6 months on all that he handled. I didn't think it was part of his job description. But I want you to pay particular attention to that, because there was a lot of stuff there. He was only a part-timer. And he just did a good job. Especially some of the items on there are still in existing, and they talk about them at planning and zoning today, or just all the time. That's Pisano's Farm. That was on Tom's report. You know, that I don't even know if that's all cleaned up now or what. But really, I want to emphasize that how good Tom was. We got to hire the right person. It can be, like Frank said, a heartfelt thing. Listen, we're all taxpayers here. And I believe we all have ordinances that we have to go by. We all have to conform. Mr. Hogarty only wanted a little more teeth into this, with his ordinances so he could do his job. If we have to cut a couple of things out of that thing, let's get it done. Let's hire the right person. Hopefully you're going to have a little good discussion tonight. And I'll reserve my right to come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cliff Potter, 1251 Middletown Avenue. I know you people voted yourself one night a month. These guys work 4 nights a month and days. Those are businessmen. They take time out of their business. Now, you remember what we had for the billing committee at NBIS, and I've nicknamed it No Bottom in Sight because there is no bottom in sight. You had my boss's boss, Jack Krasko, who knew nothing about buildings on that committee. So thank your lucky stars, you've got this talent, but it costs them money. I mean, when you take time out of a business and you take calls during the day, you might be missing a sales call, or Al might be missing a call from a contractor that's looking to help them. But they've got skin in the game. They're from this town, and they're giving you 200%. And I don't think we can ask for too much more. But you've had the worst, and you're still gonna live with that nemesis called North Branford Intermediate School. And like I say, no bottom in sight when it comes to dollar signs. So thank your lucky stars. Appreciate these men. And I wish citizens realized every Monday night, not just once a month, every Monday night, and during the day, they're calling each other. I sure do appreciate that as a private citizen. And I hope that they get the support they need. And if it requires hiring 2 lawyers, you might have to do that. Whatever you need, whatever they need to keep pushing on, they're gonna have to get. It's great to hear that they care this much, but you know, and they're trying to do what's right, but the way the world of building goes, there's problems. So again, I sure do appreciate every one of them being in our corner, because I've seen the worst, and you still see it. And until that NBIS is supposedly fixed, we'll never know if it's gonna work. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff.
Madam Mayor, if I can read a brief statement, please.
Yes.
So I apologize that I have to do this, but I'll try to make it brief. A few things have taken place over the past 2 years, and again, more recently, so I feel the need to set the record straight. A member of the town council has determined on their own to make statements against me that are patently false. For the past 4 years, I have served as the liaison to the North Branford Fire Department. This was a great honor to me, something I took very seriously. Not only did I support the Fire Commission, but I also volunteered for the Communications Committee and the Ambulance Committee, as I knew it would benefit the department as a whole. During that time, we had many great accomplishments, and I affirm that I am proud of the strides we made. However, I can't take sole credit for these accomplishments. The council as a whole has been fully supportive of the fire department. Without all of us working together, we would not have been able to accomplish these milestones. Today, I'm requesting that this negative behavior and sabotaging of other council members come to a stop. This behavior only tarnishes the great things this council has done and will do moving forward. Thank you.
Okay. Any other citizens' comments? All right, we're going to move on to item 11, number B, appointment of Kasana Lilly to the Solid Hazardous Waste Recycling Committee, term to expire 12/31/25. So moved. Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Okay, on to item 12, unfinished business, discussion and action. Discussion and review of the 2019 blight ordinance proposal.
Madam Mayor and Council, I certainly hate to disappoint some people who thought that there was going to be something more robust happening with this tonight, but I just wanted to report that the town attorney and the town planner and I have met. We reviewed the blight ordinance, and per request of the council, we're reformulating what we'd like to present to all of you. We're not quite done getting it drafted, but we want to do this right. So we're going to give you a pretty well considered package, and I expect it'll probably be done certainly for the March meeting. We'll probably try to pass it on to you actually in advance of that, so you have some time to look at it before we hit it, so it's well before it's in your packet.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item B, creation of an 1831 committee. So this is just on the agenda. So the 1831 committee is a committee that will be formed for the 200th birthday of North Branford. So it's 7 short years away, and we all know that it may seem like a long time, but those years will go fast. So we have already established a fund for a revenue stream. Once we form this committee and decide what we're going to be doing for fundraising, and also to start putting some money in there from the town to help support this organization and this fundraising, this effort that will be in 7 years from now. On to new business, discussion and action. First item is request for extension from the Blueprint Committee. So, as you know, the Blueprint Committee was formed last year, and as part of the formation of that committee, it was, they were due to submit a report to the town council in March, which is next month. I did attend their meeting last month and listened to their discussion, and it was quite evident at that point in time that they definitely need some more time to work on what their charge is. The chair of that committee is Councilor Zampano, so Tom, I'm not sure if you want to say anything in regards to it.
No, well, you said quite a bit there, but I think it's going to be an ongoing committee. As we identify different properties around town and hopefully move them onto other committees, hopefully, to do continue to do more detailed work with them as we find the different, like I say, the different properties, and present it back to the town council, like, with a suggestion on what we think we found and what we could do with the properties, best use of the properties for the town citizens and the town as a whole.
Okay, so there is a suggested motion in the packet.
Could I read that motion, but maybe based on what Councilor Zampano said, change it a little?
Sure.
I'd like to say that, I'd like to suggest that the town council of the town of North Branford hereby approves an extension to the Blueprint Committee to allow them time to continue to complete their work and make periodic reports. It sounds like they're not ready to conclude in December.
No.
No, I mean, I see it as an
Yeah,
ongoing.
It's gonna be an ongoing.
So that's not, so that's a little
Yeah,
different.
Right.
It's a pretty big task, so.
Okay, the motion has been made.
Second.
Second by Councilor Abelson. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay. The next item is formation of the Town Center Committee. And I'm just gonna give a quick background as to how this came about. So I was contacted by a prominent North Branford businessman who spoke earlier. And there's 3 of them in the room tonight who came that wanted to have a meeting with town department heads to see once if the department heads thought that this was feasible. And what it is a town center committee is to form a town center in town, which would be over near Wallfield, on the Auger property, where the police station is, that area right in there, in front of the Public Works building. So there was a meeting, the town manager was there, the assistant town manager, Victor Benny, Franny Marola, Dave Perkins, Rusty came in also, just to give us some background in this. And from there, they went to the Blueprint Committee to see, because the Blueprint Committee was formed to look at all town properties and fields and the use of those fields and how we can use them to their fullest. And this was a subject that the Blueprint Committee had also discussed, was a town center. So at their January meeting, after hearing about this idea, they voted to pass it on to a town center committee so that they can continue working on their ideas and looking at all of their projects. And then there would be a separate committee that would work in conjunction with the Blueprint Committee. So at this time, Andy Bizzuto, Dave Palumbo, and Al Rose are here to talk about their idea of a town center committee and what they see.
Andy Bizzuto, Northford, Lanes Pond Road, excuse me.
Dave Palumbo, Glen Meadow Drive, Northford.
And of course the King.
Rose, 40 Valley.
So, great intro. Really a big passion of mine for a long time. A number of you may or may not know this. I know Ms. Diamond has been around when we wrote some of the 20-year plan regarding town of North Branford, back when I sat on council with Al years back. We bought that property for this reason. We spent $4 million, we bonded it, Anthony would know the date, and we bought that property to centralize our town. The reason being, the RWA, actually, as wonderful as it is, has over 30% of our town demographics. Northford, I rarely get to Branford. I shop in Wallingford and North Haven. Our North Branford friends all shop in Guilford and Branford and North Branford, right? So unfortunately, that's what had left us as a segregated, separated type town. We've never had a central location. But this was an idea that had been developed a number of years back, even put down on paper. There's even some archaic prints that sit in some drawer somewhere. But the real reason that we put this together was because we bought the property. At that time, we didn't have a carnival any longer. We started the Potato Fest when we were on council. They said you couldn't do it, we didn't have infrastructure. Well, we put in telephone poles and infrastructure over the weekend. There was some certain groups of people that said, well, we have a shoddy bridge over the Farm River, somebody can get hurt. The following weekend, we had Blakesley Arpaia put a 25-ton bridge over the river. So I'm just using these as examples of how this came to be. I think it's a great time for the town of North Branford. It is much larger than just a town center. By putting by locating all of our necessities and things into that central corridor, we can certainly make other properties available that are town-owned properties that could potentially go back on the tax grant list. So this was a project that we wrote 20 years ago to centralize all of our demographics as the town municipality, freeing up other properties that may get us back on the grant list. We just wrote $90 million, guys, on the school, the PD, and all of these great things. I'm a giant taxpayer here too, just like everybody. But these taxes are gonna go up. So we have to find ways to put taxable properties on grand list in North Branford and Northford. Very few in Northford, very few in North Branford. The reality is, guys, as a municipality, we hold a half a dozen properties that can certainly go back on the grand list. This is something we've held for 30 years, since the days of our predecessors. And it's never gotten to fruition. I'm 61, actually today. Literally 61. Didn't think of that until just then, but that being said, yeah. But that being said, this was 25 years ago that we wrote a lot of that stuff down in our 20-year plan. I wasn't even a member. I was just a part of the public filling out stuff. That being said, I think it's time to pull the trigger. I really think that now that we got PD there, if we don't make these initiatives now, as I hate to say it this way, some of us are lifelongers. I mean, this has been a passion that we've been carrying the torch on. So personally, I think it's a great time that we can consolidate our stuff into the center, creating a one-town center for both of our towns, and that would free up other things that I think could bring us the tax dollars that we're gonna need in the near future. But I appreciate it. I'd love to sit on that committee. I've been asked, I'm here, and I put my whole heart into that. I'm a very big community guy on that deal, so. Anything guys?
I'll echo the same thing. I think it is time. We have this opportunity, we have this property, to bring our communities together. I think we're missing the boat on other towns are eating our lunch. We don't have a town center where people can come and we can have a multi-use where there's we can put our town hall there as our flagship building and build off of that. There's multi-use potential there, and I really believe it. And I agree with Andy, and Al and I have talked about it for several months, and I just think that we're missing out on opportunities, and I'm honored that we're even able to get in front of you guys, to Mayor Angeloni, to put a meeting together when Al and I asked a while ago, and to get the response back from that meeting that there was nobody that was against it. Everybody thought that this is the time. We do have the new PD there. It's going to be a beautiful facility. Franny's building and all the public works there with new buildings. This is the time to put our town center there and bring the community what we know as our community, that we've all lifelongers that have been here long enough to come together. And again, I appreciate each and every one of you to take the opportunity to give us that potential to form a committee. When Al and I were talking about it, we said, we'd love to get Andy on, and all of us, I think, and anybody that we can share this with has the passion for it. And I thank you. I really do. Appreciate the time.
So to reiterate everything that they said, and also kind of give you an idea of where we think it can go. And actually, when I get done, I'm going to ask Rusty to speak. This is one of the rare times when we have a big shot architect in the room for free. But I got to tell you, we see him every Monday night, and just through talking, we found out that his firm does a lot of residential and mixed-use projects, and we bounced it off him. He was excited and was willing to donate his time to come in, fully aware that he knows that we can't just give it to him, that there's a process that has to happen. But in our minds, we're looking at, creating a green, with sidewalks and, the nice lanterns of a New England town green with, and we're thinking that we would actually move the town hall there, and the town hall would be the anchor. In the center of it, if you were coming down Forest Road and you looked into this U-shaped road, the town hall would be in the center of it, and not sure where it would be, but somewhere so it was blocking the view of Franny's beautiful buildings. And then around it would be shops and restaurants and, whatever, commercial or retail on the downstairs and residential on the second floor, which actually would make, would bring in some, not affordable housing, but housing that's not the cost of renting a whole house. So it might be a place for young people in town to be able to get in, stay, and then support the shops and stores on the first floor. And we're not looking for the town to fund this. We're, and in talking with Rusty and other, I believe the town of Oxford built their own town center, and there's developers out there who, and we have to work all this out. Is it a 100-year lease? Do you have to sell the land to them? How do you do it? But in the end, we get the tax dollars. And we're looking to get a developer to come in and build this. We're gonna have to look at getting sewer and water up there, and by the way, we're including Franny in our little club here. And he has some ideas on possibly going up the back way with sewer and water, staying out of Forest Road, which would be a lot less money. And so we're gonna have to look at that. And, right, and yeah, maybe even no pump station if it works that way. But with that, if it's okay with you guys, I'd like Rusty to come up, because he put some time into developing some things. And we do thank him for coming down there.
Good evening. I will say I've been working with the building committee now for a little over 2 years plus. And I know when I'm in the construction community, there's a reputation that the building committee has. And everybody says, oh, you're working down in North Branford. And I said, yes. And they said, well, how's that go? And I said, it's going really well because they hold you to task. They're not going to be bamboozled. They know what's going on, and it's wonderful to work with people that know construction. And to me, yes, I've come home sometimes with bruises on me from meetings. But the point is, we want to get the best product for the town, and that's the goal that they have. And I appreciate that as an architect, they support me because we want to hold contractors and everybody to task. And not to say that they don't want to do that work, but that is something that is to be admired about your committee. Having said that, when I was approached about this project, I think it's very exciting. My firm does a lot of similar projects. We do mixed use. We actually have done numerous town hall buildings, community centers. We do a lot of municipal work. And so the idea of developing a town green with the appropriate sort of a master plan to design a space, really conceptualize it, I think is a great idea. And the process is, there's quite a process to it. There's programming involved in terms of what do we feel is appropriate to go into the space. Obviously to analyze the site itself and see how all these different elements of the town center would function together. So really that whole programming phase with input from the town departments and potentially the community, that's all important, and that's part of what we intend to do. So I look at it as a three-phase project. The first one being all this investigation and programming phase. The second phase really then takes the information that we've developed and start conceptualizing into different options. Al mentioned different types of buildings, mixed use, residential. All of that needs to be vetted out so that we look at look at it in a way that makes the most sense for your town center. And it may morph. I mean, the ideas may change as to what goes in there. Certainly the police station's there. Moving the town hall there makes sense, but what are some of the other assets that you want to have around that? So the next phase will include conceptualizing, not just planning-wise, but also creating renderings so that there's an image that we want to make sure portrays what this community wants as its town center. I don't envision a modern building here. I envision something that's New England, that really represents New England as the town center communities. And again, that's all part of the discussion that will take place. And once we have the concepts together, we will also look at estimates to what it takes. There will be discussions about how these projects get developed. Potentially a developer coming in, do we write an RFP for that developer and have competitive quotes from various developers? These are all things that will need to be worked out. But after we've conceptualized and agreed on a plan, then the third phase would be really putting a report together that'll be detailed enough to provide to a developer. And in some cases, it may be, for instance, the town hall, if the town hall is there, that building would be a town project. And others, the other facilities out there would be by a developer. So these are details that would be worked out. But, I envision this process taking probably the rest of the year because we want to go through it methodically, want to give as much detail to it. We want to get feedback from everybody so that it's not done in a vacuum, and certainly make presentations to the council and to whoever else is deemed we need to go to. It will involve getting approvals from zoning, or at least presentations to zoning, because there may be a zone change required. And so all of that is part of what we're envisioning doing with an end goal date of December of this year. So I certainly look forward to working on this project. I think it'll be a great way sort of to culminate my work here at North Branford.
So do you have an estimate of what a conceptual design might cost? Like in what type of money are we talking about to do that?
So,
You're doing it pro bono, right?
I do have, there are going to be engineers and other things involved. A study like this with that duration, I think, could be fairly expensive. What I've agreed to is a $50,000 fee for the duration of this project, encompassing all of the work that I've just described to you. There will be engineering involved in terms of if we need to get to the level of detail of geotechnical or to bring the sewer over, what that entails. Those individuals, we would have to work with them and get some fees. I would suggest maybe carrying another $25,000 for that purpose, specifically to see, and you may not spend it all. We may find that we only need a certain amount. But those are details that we would work out, and then as time goes on, report back to you in terms of where we are with the expenditures.
Okay.
We do. I know there was a prior study done, and so
there's a number of studies.
So
Franny probably has them all in his closet someplace.
And we hope to build off of that. So with that, we think that it's quite feasible to get it all done. Yeah, could be savings.
Okay.
And the end result will be, I hope to do sort of a video flyby of this, of the town center. At the end of it also, you get a really good idea of what the space would be.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So if we could do this and if we could pull this off, when I was sitting where you guys were, I was staunchly against selling the old wall field because I'm like, we don't have a green. That's a piece of green in the, on the center of one end of town, and we shouldn't sell it. Well, I'll be the first to concede that if we build a town center and we have our own green and everything, especially with what's happening at the end of 139 now and stuff, that property is a lot more valuable than the $1 that one company offered us when we turned it down. So, I mean, I think by doing this, it would open up a lot of opportunities to look at some of these pieces of land that the town has that could go back on the tax base, including this building, probably the most valuable piece of property in town, as far as a developer would see it. But, so, yeah, and maybe you move the ambulance into the center. You know, I mean, there's so many things. And the only other thing I'll say is, so volunteers that we have are, you know, Andy, Dave, myself, Franny, and Scott Small. You know, so we're in, and I know Rose talked to the Blueprint Committee, and I know Jeff had put some interest into it too. So that committee works for us if you guys can make that happen. So
okay.
We'll work hard on it, and we have an aggressive schedule because it'd be great to be able to pull this off and sell it to the community and have it done for your 2031 deadline. So, because believe me, and it's not just 20 years. You know, I've been off the council for a while, but I can almost go back 40 years now of being on the, you know, sitting up there, and we studied this to death. And you know, Bob Gregan, you know, God rest his soul, he had a whole plan. When I was talking about this with Scott Small, he goes, "You just described exactly what Bob Gregan did 35 years ago." You know, so it's not a new idea, but it's something that we certainly have the passion to hopefully make it happen.
Requires a first step, Val. Someone's gotta take the first step.
Gotta take
Otherwise
the
it
first
never
step,
gets done.
right? So thank you.
All right, thank you. So at this point in time, in regards to the Town Center Committee, I think we need to keep it on our agenda for next, that we have time to think about it and come back as a council to talk about it and what that committee is gonna look like, and kind of set up a plan as far as what that looks like on there. So, Mike, if you could just make a note so that you have it on next month's agenda.
Will do.
Thanks. Okay, item C, approval of job descriptions. First one is from Parks and Rec for front desk. So.
If I could, I'll bring up the assistant town manager who's been working on all of these job descriptions with the relevant departments.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so this all started, I was working with the library director on some job descriptions that we anticipate will probably be on your next agenda. One of the ones that they brought up was the part-time custodian. So if it's all right, I'll start
You
with
can
that
go
one.
through all four of them if you want to just give the highlights, and then.
Yep.
we'll
The part-time custodian, there were previously two separate job descriptions, one for library, one for Parks and Rec. Very minimal differences between them, so essentially we've just combined them. And as I'm going through job descriptions, there's a few kind of standard things that I think should be included that aren't. For example, most of them don't list the requirement that we have pre-employment background check and drug screening, which should be in there. So as these things come up, I'm kind of inserting some standard language into all of them. And likewise, the HR consultants who had come in prior to my arrival and put together the administrator job descriptions, I'm kind of updating everything to that format. So we started with the part-time custodian, and when I was speaking with Jessie at Parks and Rec, she had some other changes she wanted to make. So front desk staff and camp counselor, currently these positions are already assisting in some special events that the town has, such as the Christmas tree lighting event. So we were talking about the best way to approach that. Do you create a new job description, what do you do? Since they're already employees, we thought we would expand the current job description, just kind of memorialize the current de facto duties and responsibilities. And then the last one is the driver. The town has, I believe, 3 vehicles, and only one of them requires a CDL, but the job description requires a CDL. That makes it difficult to recruit for because this is a part-time position. Having a CDL is expensive. Also, we have to include everybody who has a CDL in our drug and alcohol testing program. So we modified the language of that job description to make it so that CDL is optional depending on the departmental needs at the time.
Okay. All right, so that's those 4. And then there's one for an integrated police operations manager. Did you?
Sure. So I was, shortly after I started, I was talking with Jim, and there was the idea for a records clerk, but since the department is pursuing accreditation, there's a lot of work that goes along with that as well. So Jim had the idea based on some surrounding communities to combine that, similar to what Councilor Diamond was speaking about earlier. And so I contacted those communities, got copies of their job descriptions, and kind of with what Jim had put together for his vision for it, as well as what those communities have in theirs, assembled the job description that's before you.
Okay. So the suggested motion that's in our packet encompasses all 5 of the job descriptions. So if anyone has any questions specific to one, before we vote on it, if anyone has any questions, either for Rory or for Chief Lovelace in regarding the police department one, you can ask them now before we go into the motion. Okay, hearing none. Do I have the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the following job descriptions: front desk for Parks and Recreation, driver for Parks and Recreation, PD custodian, Parks and Recreation, camp counselor, part-time custodian, integrated police operations manager in the police department.
Second the motion.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Okay, on to amendment to the merit service retirement plan.
Madam Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, I think I'd like to make a plea for mercy for some people in the audience. I think, I know that there's some folks that are here for the ARPA applications, and if it's the council's pleasure, maybe we can move them up a little bit earlier, because I know they've been waiting for a couple hours.
Yeah, that's fine.
If that's wonderful.
That's fine. Okay, so we'll move down to item G, which is ARPA project funding. First item is phase 2 of DPW renovation expansion design cost. So Franny, I guess that's you. So do you want to just?
Yeah, that's just the second phase. We went through the first phase of it. You got that in your packet, part of it.
Yes.
There's
So we allocated the money for the first phase.
the first phase. Yeah, so now we're just finishing up the first phase of this now. We actually got numbers. This is all in numbers. It's nothing to do with if we do any of the work. This is the first shot at it, and then we'd like to continue on going forward to the planning stage. Danny's giving you the picture of it. I guess it wasn't in the.
Yeah, everyone's folder should have a new cost and conceptual renovation in your folders as well.
So what is the cost of phase 2? Because in this one, it's a TBD on this page.
It's 27, what?
18, so is it the numbers that are written on here? the 18,100, 8,200, 200, 1,100, and 200? That total?
That's the second phase.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for Dan to pull, I don't have that.
Yes.
But to be determined, is it? That's the original bid. So when we bid it out, we bid the whole thing, and then we picked out just the top part, which we just got.
Right, so,
The estimate, and then the second phase of it is more construction documents and that stuff.
right, so you received the funding for the 22-1, that's what we ended up with today in this conceptual drawing.
Correct.
So now the request for ARPA funding is for the 27-8, which is phase 2.
Correct.
Okay.
So that gets more detailed with the drawings.
Right. So right now, from what was included in the packet, we're looking at the construction cost estimate that was included is roughly 1.2
Yep.
million total
Yep.
on here. And that's without Public Works doing anything, it's just a cost figure
That's with the
for budget
contingency.
purposes.
That's everything if we hire it 100% out.
Okay,
And there's no furniture involved in that, but.
right. Okay. I see their design phase is kind of going into the area of a New England town center and including,
Gotta dress it up a little bit.
I know, I see that. Okay, so the discussion is, are we ready to vote on approving 27, I know Anthony likes round numbers when we do ARPA funding. So let's go to 28,000 for phase 2. For ARPA funding. So do I have a motion
I make a motion.
to approve 28,000 for phase 2 for Department of Public Works?
Motion to approve 28,000 for phase 2 for Department of Public Works elevation drawings.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Continue on with phase 2. Okay. Next item is Board of Education walk-in cooler and freezer. I believe John Florio. Or Scott. I was told John was going to, so sorry about that, Scott. They do. Or is it gonna be a tag team?
I'm John Florio. No, thank you. This actually came about at our budget workshop. John's gonna pass out some pictures.
Sure.
During the workshop, we had gotten to the capital portion of our budget. We had 10 items listed, and one of the top priorities is what you're gonna see in front of you is for the refrigeration freezer units at Pawtucket Valley Elementary School. They are the original units that were there, so Rose, what year was the building built?
1972.
So they have withstood the test of time. We have had several problems over the last few years where, thanks to Mr. Florio, he's been able to band-aid and patch and keep everything up and running. But we're at a critical point with these units that they really need to be replaced. We contacted Mr. Downs, who put us on the agenda for tonight. John is here as an expert person in refrigeration, cooling, HVAC, electrical, all of the above. We're asking for the cost of the units. They're off the state bid list. We would put the electrical and the ceiling piece, the roofing piece on our tab. We would estimate that slightly over $500, unless you wanted to round up and include that too. So John's here to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, so originally, I saw in the quotes that they're from July of 2023, and it said that the pricing was going to be held for 60 days. So is that pricing still in effect?
I did contact the vendor and the price is still in effect.
So that they're going to hold that pricing on there. Okay. And so the things that were not included were,
Things that are not included are just small items that we do in-house. We're doing the ceiling work, we're doing any floor repairs, we're doing electrical work. We're using the same wiring, matter of fact, it's gonna be shorter, we're just pulling the wiring back. We're putting new condensing units on the roof this time. The condensing units are inside the building, which has always been an habitual problem. They're air cooled, they're supposed to be outside. They were like that from the start. So the only outside vendor we have, our roofing company, has to put the pitch box in, so we can put the stuff in the roof. Other than that, the rest of the work is done in-house.
Does this include the demolition and the removal of the?
Includes the entire job.
And what about getting rid of the materials? Because that can't be, you just can't toss that.
It's on them.
It's on the refrigeration company?
Refrigeration company's taking them.
All in? No other expected costs?
This is the cost of this is a vendor that does our work.
Okay.
Right now, does our refrigeration work right now. We've been working with this vendor for quite a while. They are on the bid list. They did come in the cheapest. This is the price.
I'll make a motion that we take care of this project, or the Board of Education walk-in cooler and freezer at a sum of $81,000 for ARPA funds.
okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve ARPA funding for the Board of Education, walk-in cooler and freezer at Totucket Valley for $81,000 on there. Any discussion?
Is there a time frame, a schedule?
This summer.
Okay. Okay, and also, because it is ARPA funding, you just have to check with Anthony as far as what they need for invoicing and how it has to state, because this is federal money on here, to get in all the backup material on there, just on there. Okay. All right, so the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes.
Thank you.
There you go.
Really appreciate it. Since we're still under 3 minutes, could we bring up the turf field, or is that?
March 26th.
I'm in on that.
Okay, next item is door access system.
Back before you guys again for the door access system. There was some work that was needed at the libraries based on the door styles they have to accommodate the lock system, totaling. So the shortfall is $4,532.01. Again, to go to Rose comment, round it to $4,535, and this will hopefully be the last time I come before you for the door access system.
I just have a question regarding that door access system. What kind of system is that?
Open Path is the brand name.
Okay, so I raised a question to the town manager regarding that system. Why is it that the police officers don't have access to that system? I have like about 10 keys on my keychain and 3 different fobs. And when we had that incident over at Stanley T with the smoke, I had to fiddle through keys to try to get inside the building.
Right.
Which you guys have an easy access of punching into the phone and opening the door, correct?
The fobs, each patrol car has a fob that gets them into town hall, libraries, Stanley T. Williams, one of the doors. The problem or the concern is that the ambulance company 4 is not an issue because it's a town building. The concern is the 3 firehouses are privately owned, so I'd have to get their permission to give Craig Miller, let's say, permission to get into the building. I could do that. I could ask them if that's okay. I haven't gone down that road yet, but it's a matter of asking the individual companies. It's like me giving keys to your house. You know what I mean? It's like, So that's why I need to do it. If that's what you'd like me to do, I can certainly pursue it with them.
I mean, it's just concerning because we are out in the field sometimes.
Sure.
And I work up, like last night, when I work up in Northford, I don't go to the firehouse, I drive all the way back to the PD.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes you have to ask the dispatcher or.
Right.
I mean, I just think it makes more common sense where sometimes you're even working a road job somewhere, you don't have to go all the way back, you just go right there.
Right.
You know,
I could certainly poll the 3 fire companies if they have any objection to giving the individual officers the key
It would
system.
be, well, it would be, yeah, I guess it would be, yes.
Right, currently, if you're in a police car, you have access now.
Right, well, you have to, yeah, if you have the keys. You know, some of the road work cars don't have the keys, so.
Okay. I thought Dennis had given keys for all the cars, but I could double check that as well.
No. Unless they updated it recently, but no.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But I will certainly ask each fire company if they have any concerns about giving individual officers access.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, there is a motion in our packet.
Be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council approves increasing the ARPA appropriation for project 099-013 door access system by $4,535 to account for work needed in both libraries as well as the fobs for the system.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion was made by Counselor Diamond, second by Counselor Miller. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 8-0. The last one for ARPA funding right now is Auger Field.
I'll defer to the Public Works and Recreation Director.
Oh, you're passing it off.
So, in a nutshell, the Public Works Department met with the rec, POCO leaders, and town manager about what it would take to move the parking to the rear of the Auger Field, where the entrance comes off Totucket Road there, across from Auger Road Extension. So Public Works determined that, well, the whole team sort of determined, but we came up with a ballpark estimate to pave in a road off Totucket Road into the Auger Field, which is in the packet and shown in one of the photos. Right now, it's just a single lane dirt path. We blow it into a double wide paved 30 by 75. We would also have to install a fence with it because that entrance is right next to a resident's property. So common courtesy would be to put a fence there to keep. Once you pave a road in, people are gonna be, they're gonna wanna park there and walk their dogs and what have you, so we should put that fence up to delineate going across the field, down to the bridge, which is included in your packet, the photo of the bridge with the orange snow fence falling over. It's about time that we upgrade that if we're gonna be bringing in thousands of people over that for POCO. That was $9,600, and then roadways to and from the bridge, upgrading them with stonework. So all that came to about $60,000. I could get into each little line item if you want, but.
Part of the reason that we're looking for ARPA funding for this is because it's a site improvement beyond the POCO. So as we discussed, people go there to walk their dogs. The property is something that we have that we need to maintain. The bridge is obviously have safety hazards with its current condition, so that needs to be improved for safety reasons, whether or not we're having a festival there or not. If you're allowing people on your site to recreate, you need to take care of the property. The gate and the apron that he's talking about paving in would control access to that site, regardless of POCO, but it provides a block for the PD so that people aren't coming on that site just freely anymore. There would be a gate, and then the fence would protect the neighbor from any resident walking in any time of the year. It delineates the town property. So that's part of why this is coming forward for ARPA funding, but we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
And so we did meet the meeting before this with the police department as to what their thinking was if we moved the parking. So the parking for the festival, all of the parking would be up off of Totucket instead of off of 22. Because we need to bring the shuttle buses and stuff. Last year it was at the Auger House due to construction sites. We knew there were going to be some issues. We had to deal with those. The police department is encouraging us to move the parking to the Auger Field. And if, our goal is for the, 1831 committee and the celebration for our 200th anniversary in 7 years, this is all work that would have to be done in order that would be incorporated into that. And so we're looking at biting the bullet this year and moving the parking there. And this is work that needs to be done in order to do that. And Franny, we met with him, and if this gets approved, he wants to start doing some of this work now and not in the summertime. He has crew and time to do now, with barring no snowstorms. So that's why it's coming before us tonight.
I just have one quick question, and it's just a thought for cost savings, potential cost savings. I know at one point we had a whole bunch of millings in town. Could we save some money by using those millings to pave that road?
Those millings are very, very scarce now. The pile's
Okay.
small. We could probably supplement maybe a little bit, coming down the hill from the Auger House if we have to. We're looking to actually pave it, asphalt versus the millings where the apron is.
So that's just the entrance, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The entrance coming off of Totucket should be paved.
Yeah.
It's just like any other apron, you should have a paved apron, so, because the farmer's still using it, we're gonna come in like, 50 or 60 feet?
30 by 75.
So that, and then there's gonna be a gate off, so he can pull off the road with his equipment and not be hanging out the road. You have that hill over there, so the pavement is only for the entrance going on to Totucket. The
Okay, so
road going up on either side of the road is either gonna be millings or process.
Okay.
So we do have millings, hopefully we'll have a milling project maybe this year.
So is
And,
that
we'll have
property,
some more millings.
so where you're gonna park the cars, it's gonna be just on
On
the
the
grass?
field.
So do we have anywhere if there's weather, if that's gonna be, if it will sustain
Those are
car?
the chances we all take.
No, I get it. They do it for, other festivals, I get it, but.
Yeah.
It's similar to the Durham Fair. We're going to
Yeah.
have that operation that we're
But
going to do.
Durham
the
Fair's
best we can.
got a flat
Yeah.
piece of property to use.
But we're parking like that now, we're parking
Yeah.
in a
Yeah, you're right,
Durham Park's
Are we not leasing that property to
That's
to
true.
the farmer?
That's true.
Bring the wood
Are we
chips
not
in if
leasing
have
that
to.
property to a farmer?
We do.
We do. I believe, I don't want to speak out of turn, but that they can get their first cut in prior to.
They work with the farmer as far as the timing of the hay. So he gets cuttings in, he knows that we have a couple weeks in there so that and then he goes back. So,
We're just putting in a road.
well, it's,
An entrance and cleaning up the bridge, to be honest. It's an entrance, cleaning up the road a little bit, and then fixing our existing bridge. It's not.
It's not just the road, it's a few things.
well,
Yeah, the
it's,
bridge is pretty rough. I mean, it
Correct.
needs some TLC to be more easily passable. You gotta get rid of the troll underneath it and everything else.
yes.
Yep.
Are you gonna change the bridge?
No.
No, just fix up the fencing. Fix up the fencing. Yep.
It's almost like make it so like no cars can drive through there anymore.
We could throw a gate up.
In the middle of the night, that's what happens, you drive through in the middle of the night.
Really?
Trucks, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Will this stop the motorcyclists, the bikers from going on there?
Go around it. You're gonna go around the gate.
They always find a way around.
Okay.
Ongoing problem.
Okay, so there is a motion in our packet.
Be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council appropriates $60,000 of ARPA funds for the improvements needed at the Auger Field relating to making that area the primary parking area for the Potato and Corn Festival.
Second that motion?
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 8-0. So I'm just gonna continue on down to the applications for the ARPA nonprofit, we'll go back up to the investment, item E, after we get through some of these that have already, people are here. Right, yep. So we're gonna go on to item H, application for ARPA nonprofit organization funding. The first one is Water and Webb's Waterbird Rehabilitation Center. This is, I believe, in reading the application, this is run out of someone's home.
Yep, on Woodhouse Avenue.
Is there anyone here from that organization?
Doesn't look like there are.
Okay.
Just to be clear, all the applicants are notified that we're doing this and they're invited to participate in this. So.
Okay.
Should we table it until they?
Yes, I think we need to table
Sure,
it,
that's
just
fine.
because no one.
We have very little in the packet, that's the whole thing.
I mean, they're looking for $4,000 to do a website to help with their fundraising from reading their application, but I think people have more questions than that, so we'll table this one,
Were they in
and,
existence during COVID, or is this something new?
no, it was vetted by the town manager,
Yep,
and
they were
they
in
met.
existence during COVID, yes.
It's a Waterbird Rehabilitation Center.
It's not like feeding horses.
Okay, so the next one is for the Totucket Historical Society. And I know we have the co-presidents here from the Totucket Historical Society. So if you would just like to come up and give a very short presentation. Well, just, I mean, we see your application, but if you can just highlight a little bit as to.
Hi, I'm Donna Somers. I live on Old Post Road. Well, in our application, you can see we tried to answer all your questions about what we would need funding for. We missed out on a lot of opportunities for fundraising, notably our Tilcon tour, our Colonial Dinner, and one of our holiday fundraisers. And we also had a lot of change in membership during that time. You know, people age out generally in this organization, and a lot of people couldn't come back. So there was a big change in that. So it's been a lot for us to just try to get back on our feet. When Mary Ellen and I came on in 2022, yeah, it's been a reorganization mostly. So we were asking for, I think it's $8,400.
Yes.
Because that's what we estimated going through our past fiscal year budgets on the deficits that we've been running.
Okay. And all of the buildings are owned by the town,
That is correct, yes. So we are, we have 4 buildings. The little white gas station, which is behind the Miller Barn. The Miller Barn is also one of the properties that we have to take care of. The Reynolds Beers House, which is on the Atwater. All of those are on the Atwater complex. And then up on the Edward Smith property, we have the Little Red Schoolhouse. So yes, all of those are owned by the town, which we lease for $1 a year, but we are essentially the caretakers of the interior aspects of the buildings. So it does, you know, we are responsible for all the cleaning of the inside, especially the barn. You know, is a lot to take care of, and we are an all-volunteer organization.
And you carry your own insurance, or are you on the town's insurance?
We are not, I believe, on the town's insurance. No, not at all. So we are actually looking, that is something we would like to work with the town on to see if we could piggyback on some town insurance. Another thing that I personally would like to see happen is that the Atwater Library Complex electricity is provided through the solar grid. I don't really know all the terms for these things, but we're on that property too, and it would be a huge boon to us if we didn't have to pay an electric bill or had a greatly reduced electric bill. But I know that's not part of this proposal. But all of that being that we are on all of these town properties that.
I would just say that this is kind of the spirit of what ARPA was put together for. These very type of organizations that missed out on the ability to have the very events that you'd indicated, the colonial dinners, the tours, the walks, the different things that they're able to fundraise with. The whole purpose of ARPA was part and parcel to help these type of organizations and of course also augment municipal projects. To me, this is the spirit of why we've gotten this money in the first place, and it's where it should be allocated towards. So I'm in full support of that.
Thank you. So the question becomes, as we saw, we gave $5,000 to All the King's Horses Equine Rescue, which was less than what they had asked for. And part of the reason is that applications were just starting to come in. And we don't know how many are going to be coming in and what they're requesting. And so we decided on a lesser amount for the horse rescue. So are we thinking of giving the full 8,400 here, or are we doing a lesser amount? And we can always come back, which is what we did for the horse rescue. You don't have to apply again. We have the application. And once we close off accepting any more applications, we can always go back and
So are you planning on doing your fundraisers this year?
Yes.
So you will be doing your fundraisers?
Yes, we will be.
But this is for back. You went for a number of years without any fundraisers, so we're still
Totally
trying
with you.
to catch up.
Yeah.
So maybe we should ask for 15.
We're going down.
I know.
We have to make it logical, right? Right? And it was like, we gave the King's Horses, like 23% less, roughly. Because they won like 6,500 or something, or it was an odd number, actually.
63.
Yeah, right. So maybe like 20% less. So if we're just trying to make logic out of it.
$7,000.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, just for your knowledge too, to date, I have received no further applications, and I know at the last council meeting, there was discussion about us setting a deadline for, I think it was like April 1st or March 31st we were talking about, and I think based on what I'm seeing, we're probably gonna wanna go forward with doing that. But just so you're aware, at this point, there are no other applications received into us at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
So, is there a motion? Did you come up with a figure and a motion?
Based upon the numbers that we had given All the King's Horses, which was approximately 20% less, I'll make a motion for $7,000 for the Historical Society.
Do I have a second?
For ARPA.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion carries for $7,000 for you. And like we said, at the end, when we close, we can, if there's money left over, we can always come back. You don't have to apply again because we have your application on there.
Thank you for considering our application. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and the third one is the Soundview Family YMCA.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Wiltsey. I am not a resident of North Branford. I am from Stratford, but I am the Development Director for the Central Connecticut Coast YMCA. Soundview Family YMCA is one of our branches, and it is located in Branford. However, it serves East Haven, North Branford, Guilford, Branford, Madison, and all the residents there within. North Branford, I'm happy to say, this past year had 222 family units that are members of the Soundview Family YMCA. That is collectively of an entire family, so that can range from 222 people up to 1,100, depending on how many people are in their house. So that's how much our branch services members here in North Branford. I'd like to introduce one of our members and our board chair, Crystal Esposito. Crystal has been involved with our YMCA for many, many years, and her children have also gone through our program, so she's here tonight to also speak on our application for ARPA consideration. So I did want to bring to light what ARPA was intended to do, but it sounds like you all are very well versed in that. And as a nonprofit, we suffered greatly. We had to close our branches, we had to close our programs, and in doing so, and in good faith, we stopped our fees. So we stopped revenue, basically our membership fees, to make sure that the members of our community felt supported through program service, but also fiscally supported, right? Because everybody was going through that very rough time. However, we didn't stop working, and we didn't stop serving our community. We had Operation Compassion, if any of you have heard of that. We made sure that the members of all of the communities we serve had groceries delivered to their house if they were transportationally challenged, if they were fearful of going to grocery stores. We expanded our camps, not only just not closing them, but we expanded them into local elementary schools during those summers. And we made sure that we had virtual learning centers so that all of our children that were remotely learning had a place to do that while their parents continued working, especially our first responder families. So you can see in our budget from our application that we have closed our last 2 years in a severe deficit. But one thing that we stand true to is we never tell someone no. So we are there to keep our promise to serve all, and the requests for financial aid continue to rise, and we don't want to send anybody back without a financial aid award if they so need so. I do want to talk a little bit about something that's not in our packet that has risen since we applied that we'd like to bring back to life here in North Branford, and that is our YB Fit program. So it was a partnership with the health department, the Soundview Family YMCA, and your North Branford intermediate schools to make sure that teenagers at those ages are cooking and eating healthy and involved in water physical fitness, and they would get 3-month membership in order to do this through that partnership. So that's just an idea on top of the financial aid that we award families that can't afford programming of how ARPA funding would be spent within your community. And I'll hand it to Crystal if you'd like to hear a little bit about her testimony or have any questions as a mom and board chair.
So I could just talk a little bit about YB Fit. So North Branford will bus the students over to the Y for those 3 months on select few days, teach them how to cook, teach them how to use the facility, and offer the free membership to the whole family with hopes that they enjoy working out as a family and then become members after that. So it's something we have done in North Branford, but it's been about 4 years since we've had it back, and we do have it in the town of Branford. So thank you.
And you are a resident?
Yes, Crystal Esposito, 174 Sea Hill Road. I do live in town since 2011.
Thank you. So I'm a proponent of the YMCA. I'm a member, my family's a member, we utilize it. I'd like to be a little bit more North Branford, have a little slant towards us, wouldn't mind having our logo on, on the opening there like you have for Branford, and I think Madison as well. So that was something I had mentioned to Matt at one point.
I've been working on that.
Good, and I love that Matt's the new director over there. He's doing a fantastic job. He's a very personable guy, a lot of energy.
He apologizes for not being able to be here. He would be, but he is announcing swim meets in Ohio.
No worries at all. But I think, again, North Branford doesn't have the Y in our town itself, but it's right there, and it is meant for our townspeople to utilize, and it's a great facility. They have an indoor play area for kids, which my daughter is definitely taking part in enjoying. Their swim lessons are great. So it's something I think that brings value. And again, as you said earlier, the spirit of ARPA is to help organizations like this. Now, candidly, the numbers that you're looking at are probably a little outside of what we're going to be comfortable with, at least now. Not to say that it wouldn't change, but I would support some funding towards the organization with the notion that we want North Branford to be a little bit more present and thought about for the Y in the future.
And that is in the spirit of bringing back YB Fit. It ended during COVID, and we'd like to see that back as a good partnership.
So I know that you received funding from Branford through their, what they had allotted for their, nonprofits, Branford did receive substantially more money than North Branford did in ARPA funding, and they allocated substantially more money. So I'm, based on what you received from Branford and their total pot of money, comes out to somewhere probably around, 25-30% of, because Branford had like $300,000 and some thousand they allocated to nonprofits.
That's a combination, just so you know, of Branford and Guilford.
What?
The amount that you read in the application, that's a combination.
What?
It's not just from Branford. It was Branford and Guilford ARPA funding.
So they both
There were
did
two separate applications. They both
7,500?
awarded us. 15,000 came from Guilford and 25,000 came from Branford.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, so 10,000, asking for 10,000 and we only allocated 50, that's 20% of our funding, which is a lot, to give, in my mind, to initially give to the organization, considering the amount of money that other towns allocated out of their pot, which was much larger on there. So I, am not in favor of the $10,000. I am looking at personally somewhere, around $3,000, $3,000 to $5,000. I would be comfortable with, but that's just my opinion. Someone else.
Well, I tend to agree. I think we'd have to see more partnership with North Branford to make more sense. Like, for instance, we don't have our own pool here in North Branford, so it would be great to couple your aquatics with our Park Rec folks. And we have some great Park Rec folks, and I'm not gonna steal, this is something they had made mention to me. It's not something that's coming as original thought from me, but they had made mention to the fact that they would like to see that, as I was talking to them about my experiences there. So again, a little bit of feedback as we're considering the application. I think if it was more North Branford forward and we felt that there was more going on, I think it'd be easier to allocate more dollars, right? But being, I'd be comfortable with $5,000, I think, for now, and then we consider, more as the pot. We may increase the pot as well. Your application's already in here.
Just so you guys know, we've had this conversation with some of the other people that have come before us, is because our pot that we're drawing from is so small, we want to allocate conservatively initially, and if the applications keep on coming in as slow as they are, and we have money left over at the end, we want to revisit all the people that we've already given money to and potentially allocate more money if the additional applications don't come in. So that's something we're keeping in mind as well.
I would just like to touch on the partnership with North Branford. So what we are doing is a junior board. So we're meeting with the principal from the high school. This is already in place, to have one junior and one senior from each high school to represent the 5. So they will attend our board meetings. So I am the chair for that branch. So it's sort of a student government. So that is one partnership that we're working with. So I just thought I should have that.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to extend $5,000 of ARPA funding towards Townview YMCA.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in
You're gonna feed
favor?
us, right? After they cook, they're gonna bring us food.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And don't forget, we're 4.4 miles from here, so you can come
Right, so
visit
they
us
can come
anytime.
and feed us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Okay, we're gonna continue on with item I, grant application, Deep Recreation Trails.
So as you saw in your packet, there are 2 grant opportunities for the town of North Branford that is offered through the Connecticut Deep Association for recreational trails. We're putting forward 2 projects. The reason we're putting forward 2 projects is one will be funded, but you don't know what the commission is going to put forward. So by putting forward two, we extend our opportunity. So we'll start with the North Farms Bridge project, and I'll let Victor kind of discuss it a little bit about what we found in our study and then what we're proposing.
Are you sure you want me to do that?
Yes.
All right, I promise I will keep it short this time. So we did have an evaluation report, field investigation performed, which was through ARPA funding, and that was performed by our on-call engineer for the bridge inspection. There were some items brought up for short-term maintenance, which came to about $56,000 under their estimates. The long-term maintenance was quite a bit more, and I think it was mainly the painting component of the bridge, being that it's over the Branford River. There'd be an encapsulation process to it all, and it's just a much more involved process, and that's around $300,000. I think our estimate, I don't have the number right on top of my head for our estimate, which did include some of the the match funding that would go with this. So some of the labor and equipment could be through town force labor and equipment. There's also construction administration through myself and Parks and Rec. Public outreach could be via website or town meetings. And the total amount that we're requesting for that is a $372,500 project, with the 20% match that we're asking for you folks to approve tonight being $74,500, and the grant itself would meet the $298,000 being the 80% of the project.
So part of the reason we're coming forward for this right now is this grant isn't going to last forever. They do put it out every year, but to put it in perspective, 4 years ago, they only allocated $1 million for all of the municipalities in the state of Connecticut. Right now, the pot is $10 million. So now is the time to go forward and ask for this money, because this funding may not be here next year for us to fund a project that needs to be done maintenance-wise. So we're either going to be on the hook in 5 years for $300,000, or we can be on the hook right now for $74,000 and keep up with the maintenance on the facilities that we have. So we think this is a great opportunity to get a project funded. Of the $74,000 that Victor mentioned, some of that can be in-kind labor or our hours on the project, so it may not be the full 74, but we're asking for the full 74 because the grant requires that we have that funding available and allocated and ready, and it increases our opportunity for getting that grant approved. So that's part of it. And then the second project that we're putting forward is the walking path at STW. As I'm sure many of you guys have heard in the past, the community is not very walkable. We have only 3% sidewalks in the community. Your place, if you have a disability or need an accessible walking path, is the track at the high school, which is closed during all school hours, and then in the evenings you have track and field practice. So there's not really a great place to go walking. We think the community center is the perfect location. As you know, we've already put forward the pavilion there. And we already allocated the funding to do the sidewalks there. So we'd like to put a plan for planning and design of a sidewalk path. It would be a 1/4 mile loop. It was included in your packet as a drawing of what we're looking to do. And we put forward the amount for the planning and design, and the town's allocation of that was included in your packet. So I'll leave that. Do you want to include anything, Rory?
The only thing to say is we tried to be conservative and give you kind of worst case scenario numbers. For the planning and design, we included a survey with elevations, because if the path is going to be ADA accessible, we need to make sure that we can accommodate the grades that ADA requires. So I just want to highlight that we tried to give you worst case scenario numbers.
Who maintains this path? You know, shoveling, it's different than just like mowing. You have to shovel, you have to maintain.
So we don't have to necessarily shovel it in winter months. It can operate just like any of our parks that are enclosed in inclement weather. So like currently, STW courts are closed because of the snow. We don't want people out shoveling on our brand new courts and damaging them. So we've locked them in inclement weather. There can be a sign that goes up on the path that says for inclement weather, we're closed. But as soon as it's nice out, the path opens up again.
Gotcha.
We've had other locations, other towns where I've noted that the cross-country skiers utilize the paths during those times. So it's an option.
Snowshoeing,
This
good.
drawing that you have here shows a softball field, which is a baseball field, and there's supposed to be another baseball field moved over for where the pavilion is, which is not on here.
Yeah, I apologize, we're working with a limited thing of what's already existing. The pavilion will be there with the path.
But what about the two fields?
One field will still be there, the other field, as discussed, would be moving.
Moving
Out of town.
out of town? Moving where? Is it gonna be still on here or elsewhere?
The gravel field, we're in conversations with Little League
Okay.
about where the best place to put that field is.
Okay, that's all I
Yeah,
want to know.
yeah,
This
we wanna
drawing
make sure
shows a softball field, it's not a softball.
So is this included in the grant application? This 280,000 or so grant application?
But this
Or
is a
is it
separate,
separate?
this
They're
is
two
a separate.
separate projects,
This is a separate grant application?
separate, so we are submitting two grant applications.
So there's no guarantee that you're getting these grants?
No. And if we don't get them, there's no money that you need to put forward.
So what's the probability of not spending all the $74,000?
Say again, sorry.
What's the probability of not spending all of the
Yeah, 'cause
$74,000?
you mentioned that there could be hours, allocated and so forth and so on.
Right, so I did make some, guesstimates on
Yep.
some in-kind costs. I talked to Dan Celentano about, what level of participation Public Works might be able to give us from the forced labor and equipment labor. And not to, I guess, without putting this out there with high hopes, but the cost of the actual inspection report that we got through ARPA also may apply to this project as an in-kind match. That was around $23,000 change. But that all falls into an 18-month timeline of this grant being approved by the state.
Okay,
From when we started paying that inspection report process.
Right, so-
That's a significant amount of the 74,000 that may be able to go towards this, but we just won't know until.
Right, so that's why, so another reason why I'm asking, let's say we allocated $74,000 and you saved $25,000, just picking numbers. What does that do to ARPA? Like, it has to be spent by a certain time. If
But
they-
I don't, they're not necessarily asking for ARPA funding
Oh,
for
okay, I'm
this.
sorry. Oh, my
This is,
mistake.
We're just asking for money.
I thought this.
My mistake. That makes more sense. I'm
Well-
just saying, how's
well,
that
because
gonna work?
I don't mean to say that, but
Yeah.
honestly, it's an opportunity for us for funding that.
No,
so this grant, that they have a deadline when the grant applications have to be in,
March
correct?
11th for this year.
I was still on the ARPA bandwagon.
Yeah, no, we've moved on to ARPA, we moved away from ARPA, and this is just
Okay.
the grant funding.
I understand that.
But for the Stanley T. Williams Trail, the walking trail, if I read this correctly, so the first part of this, is that a two-phase project? So,
We're proposing it as a two-phase project because we can't do the planning and design without it. We could have submitted the whole thing all together, but we're less likely to get it if we don't do it as two phases. I spoke with the grant administrator and they recommended we do it in two phases because when you apply for the second phase of the grant, you're more likely to get it if they've already supported phase one.
And what happens to the money if you don't get the grant? Do we receive it back as the town?
No, we don't
put out
allocate
any
it.
money until
We don't
we
allocate it.
get the grant, but we need to have funding secured in order to apply for the grant.
Okay.
In the sense
get
of,
it.
I asked Rose the same thing, I said, are we on the hook for the grant?
Right.
if we don't get the grant, we don't have to.
Yeah.
We don't put out the money.
It's just like with the
No.
the
But
fire
if we
thing.
get the grant, we put out the money.
but we're more likely to get the grant if you guys have already said, yes, we are in support of this project, yes, we want this to happen. So the other part of this grant is a letter of support. So I would request that from Mayor Angeloni to put in a letter of support for this project if you guys approve it.
So on the the walking trail, so this first grant, the first thing is $35,000 roughly for the design of it. We have $7,000 to allocate, that's our match to that. So do you have an estimated cost of what phase actually putting in, of what that might and like what our match?
I think that's the whole point of the
Of the-
planning process is so we have something
The
that
design.
will develop an estimate too.
So with
Project cost estimate that we can
so
send
the
out for-
sidewalks that we're putting in by the pickleball courts, which would be part of your walking trail, can that be used as in-kind services? If we apply for the second part of the
Yes,
grant?
so that's also part of why the timing of this trail is so important, because if we're already putting in the sidewalks for the pickleball courts and the pavilion, that can be, depending on the timing with the 18-month window, our match for the full project. So essentially, you would be getting the additional fourth mile loop for something that you're already putting in, you're already funding.
Okay, all right.
What's giving up on this, are you?
What?
We were just talking about this. You will not give up on this project. I'm just saying.
I will find every way that I can make this happen for you guys.
If she's looking for grant money,
What I do.
if she's looking for grant money and everything, I mean, it's a
What's the
no-brainer.
loop, the STW walking path?
I think
It's
it's
a
great.
4th mile loop. So the other part about this too is.
No, but is that the piece we're talking about? the
Yeah,
STW?
that's part of the grant, but the other part that's included in that is a connection to the schools as well as a connection to the center of town. So you're actually making your center of town more walkable, you're connecting to the schools, so you drop your kid off, your toddler goes for a walk.
You're actually gonna put-
You're making your town accessible to residents.
And looking into the future, there's currently a study through SCROG going on of Northford Center, the connectivity study that was brought before you a few months back. The next phase for that, depending on, how it comes out, would be a connectivity grant to maybe make some of the changes that are recommended in that study. So by making strides to increase connectivity elsewhere in the area, that would be kind of fodder for that grant application down the road, if that makes sense.
Did we talk about the bridge?
Well, that's the
That's
first
a
part.
bit-
That was
that's
the
a
first part that Victor talked about?
Sorry, yeah, I have two.
So that would
Just
be the
to
road.
follow.
Kind of all blended together.
To follow up on what Rory said too, is that success, and I think that this also may have come from the grant coordinator, but success in this grant cycle, the Recreation Trails Grant, makes it so other projects that we may present to them in the future make us more likely that they accept those projects too. So we're, ultimately, we said, well, eventually this is gonna get us to the point with if we're calling it the town center project, or, walkability trails around that type of project too, will also be something that we could look to for this grant to support that project, if we have early success on it now. I would say this smaller quarter-mile project is the small entry-level project that we're looking for to get into this, to try to get our foot in the door with this grant cycle.
Okay, so I didn't see any motions in our packet, so what do you need from us for tonight?
There should be a suggested motion.
Where?
in the memo.
Second page.
Way in the beginning?
Yep,
of
page
it?
2, bottom.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of information. The evaluation report. Oh, I got it. I see it here. Okay.
I don't see it.
And it's at the very beginning. So I'll read it. So do I?
Just read it, or
Oh,
I
go
make
ahead.
the
You-
motion?
you have
I
it?
don't have it. Unless yours. All right, I make a motion, North Branford Town Council permit the town staff to apply for the DEEP Recreation Trails Grant for 1, the STW Community Center, ADA accessible walking path, and 2, the North Farms Park pedestrian bridge, and further, that the town council authorize the drafting of a letter of support for these projects.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Get that grant.
Okay, so now we're gonna go back up to D, the amendment to the merit service retirement plan.
Page 51 in your tablets, okay, so you got lots of.
Well, if you
page-
can find a page
You
number. It's not so easy. You scroll and scroll.
It should be like a go-to or something like that.
Well, there's no
No, please.
box to say go to or search.
So what you have, you want to wait a second, or you?
No, you can start talking.
Okay.
I'll just-
So what you have in front of you is a concept that came out of the Fire Commission, went through the Pension Committee, and because it involves a language change to the pension documents, has to be sanctioned by you folks. So basically the premise is the Fire Commission is trying all they can do to maintain a volunteer fire department for the town of North Branford. And what this is saying, current language says when you reach 65, you typically start collecting your money. You could stay in to up to 70 currently, but you need to start collecting your money at 65.
Oh, you didn't do that one.
So what this does, it allows people to stay past 65, continue to earn pension credits. And as you see from the analysis that was done by Milliman, our actuary, by allowing folks not to take the pension money, the time value of money, the money stays invested, it actually could result in a lower cost to the town. So it's basically a win-win. It allows the volunteer firefighters to stay past 65 and earn credit. They're doing the same requirements they did when they were 55. So why not let them earn additional credits? And then it has some savings to the town. Regarding the savings, you notice in the motion that was made by the pension committee, because the whole concept is speculative at this point, the motion from the pension committee was to endorse this change onto the council, but to instruct the fire department to fund it at the baseline level. So instead of the 375 and change at the baseline level is, the thought was to bring it down to the 340, 307. However, the guidance from the pension committee was to fund it at the 375 level. Again, until we get some years of experience, see how many folks actually stay past 65 or work past 65 or start the money at 65. You still have the option, if you want to start at 65, you can, collecting your money. Some folks will opt to against it. So again, the premise was to do whatever they can to retain a volunteer fire department in town. A long history, as all you know and appreciate. This did go through the Fire Commission. It was blessed by the Pension Committee to pass on to the Town Council. And the motion you have is on page 51 of your tablets.
So this makes a lot of sense for the town. We have folks that have spent a lot of time, not only achieving, what do you want to call it? Fire 1, Fire 2, different
Certifications.
Certifications, thanks, I couldn't get that word out of my head. And they want to continue to help the town. They have a great deal of knowledge. As Anthony has indicated, the goal here is to keep a volunteer fire department in place, which I think Ron can agree is invaluable, having that. And I think the rest of you can agree that they've done a great job for this town and continue to do. This is not a big ask, and I think it makes sense fiscally as well, being that the projections look like they're skewing in the right direction. So I would put my full support behind this. We really talked through this in Finance Subcommittee, and the ins and the outs, and then again talked about it
in pension
as well, which I chair, and we had a lengthy conversation about it. So I would make the motion.
Anthony.
Okay.
Can I just ask you?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. So what are the limitations for fire? Currently, they have to. Currently, they take their retirement at 65.
Currently, they can start collecting their money at 65, and currently they have to leave at 70.
Okay.
There's been discussion. There's two facets. There is the guy who's like 67, 68, right? Who's still in the same work that he did when he was 55.
Yeah.
He's not getting any credit for it. So this gives him credit for those additional years. He's deferring getting his pension. He's still earning pension credits, and what the actuary has determined is, by the time value of money, but him not taking the money at 65, it allows the pension plan to grow and actually reduces the contribution the town needs to make.
Compounding interest.
Compounding interest. What's required, whether you're 25 or 65, there's an annual physical you have to take and pass.
Yeah.
So if you could be 25 and have something pop up that precludes you from volunteering, or you're 65, 67, whatever happens to be the case, so that same physical, an annual physical would be required in both scenarios, whether you're a 25-year-old guy or a 65-year-old guy.
Okay.
Or woman, firefighter.
Yeah.
And it's the same physical for both, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's identical. We're in the process now. We just hooked up through, Rory got us hooked up with docs the folks that you see down on the old Next Gen company down on
In East Haven.
East Haven, Branford, North Haven. We worked with Yale. And why we liked Yale because they came out to the stations and did on-site. And they never recovered from COVID. They have no personnel to do on-site anymore. So for the last 3 or 4 Saturdays, we've had one at Company 1, one at Company 2, one at Company 3. They come on site. And if you're dealing with a volunteer force, you can make it as easy as possible for them. So we had from 10 to 4, all 3 days, matched out with different appointments. And it's the same physical that you would need, whether you're, again, a 25-year-old guy or a firefighter or a 65-year-old firefighter. But we did try Concentra, just another name that's out that you may hear, and we had very bad results with them. Long waits, people going 3 and 4 and 5 hours for a physical, impossible to schedule. So these docs at a very reasonable price are coming to our stations and performing the physicals. So it works out really well.
Thank you. All right, so I'll stand a motion. Be hereby resolved that North Branford Town Council, based on the recommendation of the Pension Committee, votes to amend the Merit Service Retirement Plan to allow for members to earn years of credit service past age 65.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Okay, the second item under here is, or the next item is investment policy statement.
Should be on page 55 of your tablet.
Never got there.
Sorry.
I just keep scrolling.
Several years ago, the town switched our investment manager to Hooker and Holcomb. And at the time, they had presented us with a new investment policy statement that was what they had recommended. In the past year, they were bought out by a firm called USI. And with that change came some additional documents and a little more refined version of an investment policy statement. Again, this went through the Pension Committee at the February 7th meeting, and the Pension Committee voted to adopt it, to recommend it to this body for adoption.
So this is yet another one I just said from Pension Committee. Every number of years, you need to look at your IPS. It's kind of standard practice. And as Anthony indicated, these folks have moved over to USI, who's a very well-known shop. They do great work, and there's more resources. And this gets us, again, just more in line with popular, today's culture and continuing trends within the municipal space as well as the financial space. So it makes a lot of sense for us to update this. It's still pretty broad so that you're not going to fall out of compliance, but it gives enough guidelines to help, to traject North Branford in the right direction. But any questions before I make a motion? All right, so be it hereby resolved that the North Branford Town Council, based on the recommendation of the Pension Committee, votes to adopt the investment policy statement for North Branford Employees Pension Plan, North Branford Police Pension Plan, and the Merit Service Retirement Plan for volunteer fire and ambulance personnel.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay, and the next item is review bid specifications for bid number 24114, portable toilets for Parks and Rec and BOE. So, do I have a motion
I'll
to
make a
approve?
motion to approve bid specification for bid number 24114 portable toilets for parks.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just for clarification, this is, the contract will end for our current use of the portalets in June, so this is just in preparation for what we'll do for the next fiscal year.
But I saw the dates were like July to March, and then after that, they went annual March to March, which I didn't quite understand.
Not sure about that.
Why, what was significant with the March dates? And maybe it was just
I don't know,
because,
it might have been based off the prior contract.
because some of them might not.
Yeah.
Might not. Okay. I'm gonna take that Michael Fumiati when he put this all together. Just went off the other bid specs, so we'll just go with it. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, now we're on item J, appropriation transfer for revised Branford bill for wastewater.
So subsequent to us adopting the sewer use budget, we received correspondence, I believe it's in the packet, from the town of Branford, that as they were closing their 23 fiscal year, they realized that their sewer works budget was incorrect. They had not included employee benefits. Resulted in a supplemental bill to the town, confirmed the numbers with the finance director. It follows the logic of the formula that we have in place. So in order to accomplish that and cover that, town engineer, Mr. Benny, is proposing the transfer you see in front of you, which basically takes $51,275 from the other purchase service account and moves it to the intermunicipal Branford to cover that bill. And how Mr. Benny's going to fund that, or there were some items that he was planning on doing with that money that he may have an alternative source to look at doing. That he's been advised.
Okay.
I'll make the motion, resolved that the North Branford Town Council hereby approves the following appropriation transfers as recommended by the town manager and treasurer finance director.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Yeah.
Oops, oops.
So, Anthony, did we have a similar problem last year?
Negative.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 8-0. Okay, so the next item is contingency transfers. Conversion, first one is conversion of fire alarms to cellular.
So a long time my tablet died.
What, your Chromebook?
Oh, look at you.
Be that way. Historically, we have relied on copper lines through SNET, Frontier, and the like for our fire alarm systems, with a backup line for Comcast. The premise was always you had two ways out in case one was failed. The new NFPA regulations allow for the use of cellular as a means to get the signal to the monitoring company. So this is going to allow us in multiple places around town to eliminate the Comcast costs that we have. We're looking at ways of changing the buildings that we provide TV service for, namely the firehouses, doing some kind of streaming methodology, we've taken some strides to lower the cost. So what this is basically, we have a cost to, the firehouses have been kind of done one at a time over the past few years. This takes the last 4 buildings. It's the town hall, it's the 1675 Fox in the former senior center, it's the 2 libraries, and the hold-up alarm for the tax department, and converts them all to a cellular-based product versus a landline-based product.
Do you want to just do the cyber security, because I see they're both on the contingency appropriation here, so.
We actually could, that other one could have been actually another, or could have been item I think you'd want to do contingency for that one. You made it P or O, whatever the laptops, contingency also, if you want to get it all in there one shot. So the SCROG that we belong to has engaged a firm to do a cybersecurity audit. And as you know, in this day and age, just look around, we're all so vulnerable for cybersecurity. All it takes is one clerk in one department clicking on a bad email and the whole network is shut. Nothing you do is ever going to prevent that. You could spend millions of dollars trying to do the best you can for security, but your weakest link is individual people who could pop open a bad email. So what this initial phase 1 audit does is it leverages the power that SCROG has initiated and is putting forward towards the cost, and it will identify things in our system. We did a similar audit when the last presidential election was. The National Guard came around and did an audit of our primarily election function at that time, and found, we had glowing reports of our cybersecurity. And again, it's all kudos to Dennis Panone, who's our consultant, that really has us in top condition. So this phase one will go through in a little deeper dive, identify potential weaknesses in our cybersecurity situation, and may lead to phases 2 and 3 down the road, which we may opt to do, may not opt to do. This will give us at least a roadmap to do that. And again, it leverages the power that the, I mean, what page it's on in the tablet?
205.
Thank you. Beautiful. So you see the 6875 that we're looking for. So the value assessment is 17,550. They knock off a discount. There's matching funds. So our net price is 6875. And again, what that's going to do for us is give us a good analysis of our system, what our weaknesses are, identify some potential costs, and then it's up to us if we want to proceed with phases 2 and 3. But at least this gives us an idea, gives a third party looking at it, and just to see what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and how can we fix them.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Does this include AI? Does this phase include AI?
This phase does, well, I don't have an answer for you, to be honest with you. And talk about cybersecurity, it'll look at our firewall, it'll look at what we're using for antivirus, looking for network protection, for emails, things like that. We use a product called WebRoot. Is that the best? We don't know. It's worked well for us so far, but could it be something else? I can inquire that, though.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Do you think that's funny?
I don't know.
No, I'll just explain to you that a town got hacked by AI and took, I don't know, a couple of $1 million by
sure that they're way ahead of everyone.
For an employee, because they thought that it was people in the town and the finance manager.
Not surprised at all.
Right, so I just gotta make sure it's
Are
included.
you sure it was AI?
Yes.
I heard it was a guy named Al.
When you built that program?
Do you want to include the third one there too, or no?
Yeah, we're gonna move item Q, the laptop purchase, up to, since it's a contingency transfer, we're just gonna throw it in there.
So as Mayor Angeloni mentioned earlier, there was some concern over the current hardware that you folks have, and I know that there's varying levels of technological savvy, let's say. And some people are Apple people, Mac people, some people are shaking their heads, some people want a laptop, some people want a Chromebook, some people want a tablet.
No one's Chrome.
I found page 205. I did. It was right there.
So, one of the thoughts was, do you want Dennis to come to a meeting and poll you and say, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? And then back into what you think the appropriate vehicle to get there is. Or we can just jump right in as the cost you have in front of you. We've worked up some numbers. What a cost estimate would be to buy the laptops with touch screens that you're all familiar with, styluses. There's an ongoing cost for office licenses and antivirus. So I believe the initial number was
9810.
Thank you, 9810.
And the second year out would be 810 for.
In licenses and stuff.
Yeah.
Which we can build into the budget the second year
Right.
out.
That is correct.
On there.
So those are the three contingency items that you have. You have the switching the alarm systems to cellular, you have the cybersecurity audit, and you have the money for the
So that's-
laptops.
That's $19,985, correct?
Yes. Yep. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that be resolved that the town manager is hereby authorized to appropriate from reserve to contingency account 1,000, et cetera, for a total of $19,985.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is there a cheaper way to do it?
A cheaper way to do?
Do you want these?
Well,
You could get light prints.
I mean, I'm okay, I'm okay with it, I'm okay with an iPad.
Oh, you just found 205.
Yeah, I got the 205.
Page 205. If you
No,
want,
I'm
if you
serious.
want
I
to
mean,
keep,
that
if you want to keep your
$19,000
Chromebook,
$19,000.
no, the computers is 9810. Is
What's that?
That was three things, that wasn't just.
It wasn't just the computers.
9810 is for 9 laptops, the licenses, the carrying case, the wireless mouse.
Well, the reason why another reason why I'm asking that is, do we need a computer to look at an agenda and back up data? I'm just asking the question. It's just,
There's various ways you can get there. And again, the concerns are, we're gonna spend $1,000 for each of you, that's never gonna be opened up. Or is that the best thing you want? Or some people want a tablet. I mean, so there's no one size fits all.
Right. No, I understand.
So that's where we are. If we can either go with laptops and see how that works, or if you wanna kick it around and say, no, I'd rather have,
No, I think we gotta, it's a consensus thing. I'm just bringing up the point, is there a more economical way to be able to view agendas and have email? Because I think pretty much that's what we use it for. There might be some people use it a little bit more than that, but that's what we use it for, right?
Well, if they want us to use, the whole purpose I thought of going to, Office 365 was the whole Teams thing, that we're all on the same platform, we can all use it. And I will tell you, in trying to send documents to the council, me as the mayor trying to send you stuff, it's a nightmare. I do it on my personal computer and send it to the town emails, because when I do a document on my personal computer in Word and send it to my town email so I can get it and do it through Outlook and everything else, it all gets distorted. Your formatting gets off. You spend more time trying to get it back into the format that you want it to be in. And then we also talked about, and this came up last year, we were going to be going to ClearGov this year for the budget. And my question was, do these Chromebooks even support that we could look at it and it would be functional for us? And if it doesn't, then there's no, in my mind, there's no point in me having this Chromebook. Someone else, you might be okay with it, but I can't function on this because there's too many things that I have to keep altering, and it just takes up a lot of time. And then I don't know what you guys are getting. Like when I send the email, I don't know what it looks like once you get it.
Right.
If you can open it, if you can do anything with it. So my suggestion is, if there's some council members that don't want a new computer and they're okay with the Chromebook, then fine. We can cut back on the purchase. We allocated the money, so if everyone wants one, fine. If there's some that don't, that's okay too. I mean, like Anthony said, it all depends on your level of what you're doing on them.
And like I said, Dennis had offered to come, if you want to come early to the next meeting, and you can kick around and say, okay, Maria, what are you trying to accomplish? Oh, this is how you can do it. Or, Nick, what are you trying to do? This is how you can do it, kind of way around it. So we could pursue it. We could hold off a month. I mean, it's up to you. I know you want to get it in time for the budget meeting, so.
Yeah, I don't want this for the budget.
Kavish.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know about anyone else, but.
Are we gonna be paperless this budget?
No.
Well,
I thought we were.
We're striving to get there.
Okay.
We can do that. We can do it on a yeah. We'll get there somewhere.
Okay.
You won't get a thick notebook. We'll scan them, and we'll have scanned documents.
Streamline it.
700 pages of scanned documents for you.
So that you can scroll and you won't be able to find the page number, so you can just scroll up and down the whole night trying to find it.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I find that laptop, I bring my own laptop because I can't stand that Chromebook.
Yeah.
They're awful. I mean, I think having sat where you're sitting and knowing what you're experiencing, I mean, it's perfectly reasonable to get all of you on the same level. Now, one member may use it more on Excel than Word or something else, but you should have all the same capacity to operate and do the work that you're doing, and find a page on a PDF, for example. So, I mean, all those things I think are reasonable for you to do that based on our discussion in finance, and certainly I think it's a fully appropriate thing to get you guys up to speed to be able to do the things you're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
So when I said the 19,000, that included the other two.
I got it.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't a number I was looking at earlier. I was wondering where the 19,000 came from.
Okay.
Okay.
So did we take the vote?
No, not yet.
No, okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, financial report.
Quick and easy. The same culprit that we've talked about previously, the emergency management is overfunded, overspent, I should say. Again, a function of the MBIS generator issue. Revenue numbers you noticed from the finance committee, I did fix that finance department revenue line. Total revenue is still a little bit behind last year. It's the funding of the second ECS payment. Came in last year on January 31st. This year it comes in on February 1st, so it's not in this report in front of you. Aside from that, there's nothing else remarkable to talk about.
Okay. Approval of tax refunds.
There's one sizable one I want to just touch on quick.
Frontier.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. 32 Commerce Drive. At the end of Commerce Drive is a building that Frontier owned and sold probably 3 years ago now. The new owner pays his bill promptly, and for some reason, Frontier pays their bill. They haven't owned it in 3 years. So that's why you see a $20,000 refund to Frontier, because they don't own the building anymore. We've contacted them, tax offices try to contact them. It's bizarre. So that's why you see a $20,000 overpayment. They continue to pay us, and they haven't owned it in 3 years.
Okay, so when they pay, can't you just send the check back to them?
It goes to lockbox.
Oh, okay.
That's a good point. They pay through lockbox, so we don't see it. All of a sudden it pops up saying, hey, Frontier paid the bill.
Okay.
If it came over the counter, you're 100% correct. We could send it right back to them, but they pay through lockbox.
Okay.
Good catch.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next is Branford Animal Control Bill.
Oh, hi, Anthony. Come on up.
So,
You again.
You recall that we ended our relationship with Branford as far as animal control goes. This is the bill that covers the July and August timeframe. If I can get there. Page 229 of your tablet. So there's no action. This is more for FYI kind of thing. We held off paying the bill through June 30. That was the council's request. We'll couple them together and get them both paid at the same time. So no action is needed now. We'll see how that plays out come the end of the year. We may need to transfer some money. Remember, East Haven came in a little bit under budget, so there might be a little bit might work out to our favor come the end of the year. So just an FYI that we got this bill for July and August, and we're going to pay it and satisfy both the fiscal 23 bill and this bill for those 2 months for July and August.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item is approval of fiscal year 24-25 budget schedule. So the draft is in your packet. So just as a reminder, so generally in March, there's 6 departments that we will do budget workshops with. Park Rec, Fire, Police, Library, Board of Ed, and Public Works. So we scheduled them for Tuesday nights because we had talked about any town council meeting that we would have. We would keep them on Tuesday because people are used to council being on Tuesday. So we have March 12th in half-hour increments with Park Rec, Fire, and Police presenting their budget in a workshop to us. March 19th is our regular meeting. March 26th is a budget workshop for Board of Ed, Library, and Public Works. The public hearing, which is the one opportunity, that's where both the Board of Ed and the town present their budget. It's the only opportunity that the town has for speaking about the budget. This year it's going to be in the high school, in the cafeteria, so that we can use their new facilities, our taxpayers' dollars, everyone gets to see that. Then we have budget deliberations on Thursday, April 4th, and then finalizing the budget on April 16th. So that is the budget schedule. All of the meetings starting at 6:30.
So, Madam Mayor, it was just brought to my attention that on March 26th, early voting is taking place, and they're using this location, right? Which I wasn't aware of until just now.
What, in council chambers? Okay, so where do we want to hold that meeting then? Do you want to?
Could do it like at the cafeteria in
Nah, I hate the cafeteria.
NIS or MBS. Yeah, I don't like it much.
Yeah, go to the high school.
Well, you can check on the high
Yeah, we
school,
can do that.
or the other thing is check on the boardroom at STW.
Yep.
Let's go to high school.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, I don't know if they have anything going on, that's why. Yeah.
They have that
So-
meeting room at the library too, we could do it there.
Yep.
The high school would be the first option.
Check that first, sure.
So do I have a motion to approve with a change in location for March 26th?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. And the last item is discussion on the town seal, which is in our packet at our desk. It did, and it was sent to us in a separate email prior to this yesterday.
Right. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to take a look at it, I just can delve into the memo quickly. Knowing that there's been recent discussion about the current form of the town seal, I wanted to recap some information about its current use. Back in September of 2022, I created a re-rendering of our town seal for use on the new town website we were then developing. This was done because we did not currently have a high-quality, color, high-resolution graphic of our town seal, which is really showed in Figure 1 in the memo. The higher quality digital version retained all the original elements of the known town seal. The notable difference between the former and current version is a difficult to read banner underneath the seal. I replaced this with an easier to read blue circle around the seal with the words Town of North Branford 1831, which is shown in Figure 2. This was done to reflect similarity with the official town pins that the council approved in 2022, which also have the seal enclosed in a circle. To be clear, the town seal is the portion of the graphic that is the shield located inside the circle. I also toned down the red and blue from their bright coloration to one more like the colors on our town signs. This has been on our new website since its launch in April of 2023. Before doing this, I reviewed this re-rendering with Lisa Valenti, who in her capacity as town clerk is the keeper of our town seal. She verified this version is in no way in conflict with the officially established North Branford seal. During this process, research by her uncovered some interesting things that are important to include by way of background. Prior to 1972, the town's emblem was a cut of Native Americans in front of the old Indian cave in Northford. The newer emblem, designed in 1971 by a heraldry hobbyist, Mrs. James Ameling, was adopted as the town emblem by the North Branford Town Council on March 7th, 1972, which is shown in Figure 3. It included features that would be recognizable to everyone now: the chevron, the 3 mill wheels, and an arrow between a bow and hatchet. The design adopted was colored silver and red, as shown in Figure 3. This was first featured on the cover of the town's annual report in 1971. The motion to adopt it by the council noted the colors silver and red and eliminated the leafing shown at top. Since then, there have been numerous variations on this emblem. At some point, the colors black or red and blue, such as the town's signs throughout town, were used in place of the silver and red approved by the council. Board of Education even uses a purple and white version in Figure 4. There's also one that uses dark red that is front and center of the town dais right in front of you here. Additionally, at some point, the shape of the shield was changed from the approved version into one that reflects the shape and styling of the shield of the flag of the state of Connecticut. Both Town Clerk Lisa Valenti and I researched the Town Council meeting minutes to see if any of these changes in color or shape had ever been approved by the Town Council subsequent to their 1972 adoption of the emblem. Such changes were never authorized as far as we can tell based on town council minutes. Also, it is important to point out that this seal of 72 was not approved by the town council as a seal, but as a town emblem. That may seem technical, but it's important. The seal of the town is on file with the Connecticut Secretary of State's office. That is a colorless stamp which includes the shield design and actually more closely resembles the rendering I created with a circle around it that says North Branford, Connecticut. This is what appears on official documents stamped in the town clerk's office. Associated costs. I'm also aware that there have been some interest in the costs associated with using this new rendering of the seal. Costs have been nominal. I did the original graphic work with assistance from Jess Cave and Park and Rec, so there's no cost for that work. There is no cost associated with digital materials. It has been used on our letterhead since October of 2022, which is viewed on town council agendas, but our letterhead is generated internally as it is used, so there's no cost associated with that. Public Works had requested the use of a variation of the new rendering with North Branford Public Works in the seal. This was for UV fade-proof decals for their vehicles, which cost $655 total. Recommendation. There's certainly some ambiguity about the several variations of the seal and that are and have been in use, and none in use today fully conform with what is officially approved by the council in 1972. This discussion gives the opportunity for the council to clarify, officially adopt the modifications made as to shape, color, and rendering. The council should adopt a full symbol as the town seal that also is specific to the Pantone colors being used. This will ensure accurate use and branding going forward, and I'm happy to assist the council in accomplishing this. I've also got Town Clerk Lisa Valenti is here too, in case there's any questions relative to the history of the seal.
I certainly thank you for all that history.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Pretty interesting to me too.
Seems to be all to do about nothing. I mean, thank you for making a really nice looking seal that shows well on our town letterhead and trucks. And
thank you.
Just to clarify, if I may approach?
Yes,
please.
It's an emblem, it's not the seal.
Emblem. Yep, thank you.
And they did correct that. If you look through the minutes in 72, they kept saying town seal, and at the end, they rectified that and said it's the emblem that we put on the letterhead. It is not the official town seal. So we do use the terms interchangeably, all of us do it, but if you're approving anything, you're approving an emblem and not the town seal.
So is there a town seal?
Yes.
That's
It's
the
the one
ones to
that I
stamp.
use, the hard copy. Anytime we have to seal documents for the town,
Oh,
I have the seal, and according to state statute, what it is that shield,
Yeah.
and it does say seal on it, Town of North Branford, Connecticut, which is what is required by state statute.
okay.
We do, I mean, in his emblem, he added the 1831. That's not a requirement. The state requires you to put Town of North Branford, Connecticut, and seal, the actual word seal. Any other things that you want to put in for design is up to each town.
Okay.
Right, but it is a logo that goes on our letterheads, and I think it's a good idea to have a paper trail, so you know why it changed 10 or 20 years. When someone makes that ring red, we'll be able to go back and say, oh no, that was supposed to be blue, and here's the backup data. I think it's actually good that you went through that, and just to so there's a paper trail to trace it. I think it's good.
The signs, when we're coming up on 22 from North Haven to Northford, excuse me, there is the sign entering the town of North Branford. Is the emblem on that? I don't remember if there's
The one that would
have to
be
be changed also.
reflected in figure 1, I think, is in the inset at the top of those signs.
Okay, so you're not going to change those signs?
Those were
No,
provided by
there's no intention
private
to.
citizen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no intention to do that.
They were done by,
Yeah.
can't remember his name, but he passed away. But he gifted them. Yeah, Sanzavero, thank you.
Which
That's Sanzavero. He made them and he donated them to the town. Very talented.
Oh, they're not the new wood signs that we put up?
No,
That's what you're talking about?
No.
Oh,
A few
okay.
signs when you're entering the town of North Branford, there's the signs that say you are now entering the town of North Branford.
Yeah.
That's
They're nice.
the emblem.
Right, those are the ones that Corey, or, what was her name? Carrie, yeah, she, that was her project. putting all the different signs around town, right? Wasn't it? Wasn't
No,
that?
that's not what he's talking about. That's,
These are like, these are two signs, but they were donated by Pat Sanzavero back in the 90s.
Where are they?
There's one on 22 coming off North Haven, and there's one in, is it on 80 in Guilford?
Isn't on the other 20, it's on 22 coming in from Branford, isn't it?
Could be. Yeah, it might be.
Okay.
Might be 22 and 22.
In any case.
yeah,
But there's two. They were handmade. They're really nice.
okay.
Do we want to make a motion to adopt this new logo, or as we said, emblem, as so graciously done by the work of our town manager and his team?
Apparently, there's no need to, right?
Well, I mean, I think at this point we
I
can
think it
keep
will be
it.
good, only because what the council has codified actually is the silver and red one. So we would be,
Changing.
adopting what we have been using. I mean, even the figure one wasn't accurate to color. So I think it would be good just to do that and be clear that we're not using the silver and red anymore.
Right. Yeah, I think we should
I'll
move
make a
forward.
motion to adopt the town emblem as stipulated by the design 2023.
Okay.
Yes, figure 2 on the documentation provided by the town manager's office. Again, I thank you for that work.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Thank you.
7-0. Okay. And last but not least, citizens' statements and petitions.
Be gentle.
Okay.
We're fast enough, Cliff.
Cliff, you didn't get it first.
Bill Savastano, the two ladies were here earlier. I thought they were going to speak on the tax relief in reference to a freeze. I didn't say anything about the freeze before. I don't know if the council is looking into a freeze, but that certainly could be added. And the requirements could be the same, meaning the thresholds, the age could be 5 years more, meaning instead of 65, it could be 70. Again, this is what I've learned in the past in looking into this. And the other one, you could put a stipulation on years at owning the property, 20 years. So I think could be simple enough for the tax relief. The other thing is, through Dan Solitano, who's our liaison to our committee, has Waste Committee, we had sent a couple of requests for spending some money. Can I bring that up for a second? Because we asked for it to be said at the council meeting, and it was brought up at your finance meeting. I was supposed to be here. I'm here, but I wasn't at the meeting. By the way, that was on Zoom, and I couldn't click on it. Is that me?
We did have it could have been you, it could have been technology, I don't know. We
Yeah,
did
well,
not remember that, difficulty getting on, but the finance committee had referred it back to hazardous waste, just for clarification. There were 3 items.
Well, I want to explain. I mean, otherwise we lose another month's time. We were looking, can I briefly talk?
This should be an agenda item, no?
Yeah. Well, I think this did come before us
It was
last
on
month.
the agenda.
It went to the finance committee.
Finance committee.
The finance committee had asked for clarification on those 3 items that they brought up.
It was actually 2.
Oh, yeah, it was all the signs, the 100 signs, the rain
Yeah, we
barrel.
want to use some NIP money to buy don't litter signs. That would be, handed out, not randomly, but using them in some parks around the town. Certain locations we're gonna get with Parks and Rec, so we don't, cross any hairs anywhere. And we're gonna give a few out at the Earth Day. So people want to put them, they'd be responsible to put them in front of their house. If they had a corner lot, not in front of somebody else's house. We're gonna give them a few rules. And so we're gonna use the NIP money for that. But the other one was not to exceed $10,000 ARPA funds for an engineering project for the old leaf drop-off for a possible transfer station. Now, we've been talking about it for years on our committee. Town manager, they had a walker around last year with town officials. We had people from DEEP. But the first step would be an engineering device, I guess, before you get a proposal on, if you ever wanted to do it. Using the thing says ARPA money or NIP money, but I'd say use the ARPA money, if we get anything left. So that's it. I thought I'd save another month.
I think it would be ideal for the committee to send in writing,
Yes.
the way they did the first version, to transmit to the council exactly the details of the projects that they're looking to do.
Yes, that would be fine.
And then we could have it on your March agenda.
Well, there you go. Give the recycling committee all your Chromebooks, then they can have communication.
But they don't work.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Give them to recycle, perhaps.
They can one thing I wanted to say is, you know I love this town, I keep telling you that. We lost a very, very important person, Anthony Torino. And he was the prime example of the blue-collar people we have in this town that knock out every day a living, a small company, but that man was part of Northford, part of North Branford, and it was amazing. I kept in touch with Christine and the funeral parlor, and I told Christine the next day, it wasn't tears and wailing, it was just the amount of respect that everybody that went through that funeral parlor showed to the family and to Anthony. And I found out the details. What was he doing? He was buying his wife a new car when he passed away. It was never about him. He always gave back to everybody he met. If you've ever done business with them, they're great to do business with, and they still will be. Steve will pick right up. But this is what our town's made of, people like Anthony. And that's why we are such a good town. I mean, it's amazing. It's just that it's going to be a big loss. But the man was a legacy in town, and I want to keep remembering his family, and I know you guys were there, and this is what we got, and we're going to keep getting it because it's great. We're going to keep his legacy living on, and Steve will, I'm sure. So it's just a very sad time, but a very wide awakening at just how much he gave. And he never asked for anything in return. He just gave and gave and gave. And he would talk to my son, and he would just show him respect and everything. And it was a hard loss. Thank you.
I appreciate you bringing him up. He was a personal friend, so thank you for bringing that up, Cliff. He's very well missed.
Okay. Any other public comment? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you for coming.
Wow.
Sticking with us.
Come on, got a minute?
Till Tuesday? Absolutely not.